What's up, everybody? Welcome back into TK Wrestling. We're here. We are back after a hiatus. We are here to talk about a litany of things. Saturday night's main event, John Cena's final match, has come and gone, and the Raw after has also come and gone, and we've got some new implications after.
We're in a new era.
That. Yeah, a lot of they're trying to make 2025 round off with a bang. So we'll see what happens. But Matt, how have you been now that the semester's over and you get a little bit of a break?
Dude, it's been nice, man. But now comes like the idea of getting this whole place organized so we can have more fun things to do at the house. You know, like for instance, at the end of the show yet again, I got another package to open. So we'll open this at the end. This is a nice one. This one I showed you already, Casey, in a sense. So the viewers, if you stay to the end, you'll get a really cool comic opening. But man, like, look, wrestling's been rocking. It's been, as we talked about, we're living in Louisiana. We get weird weather. Like right now, it's December 17th, and I'm in shorts.
Yeah.
So,
but keep in mind, it was about 5 below freezing 2 days ago.
But when I came back, I went to the Saints game with my buddy Ryan. He's a big Panthers fan, so we went to the Panthers Saints game on Sunday, and I felt bad for him because I mean I'm not a Saints fan. I'm not, but I felt bad for him. His team lost in the final seconds, but. That Saturday night, like I said, yet again, we were out in New Orleans in shorts till Saturday night. And then Sunday morning, we woke up. The only thing that changed is the sun came out.
Yep. Yeah.
The temperature had dropped 40 degrees. So, no, it's the weather's been a little back and forth. We were talking earlier how we like some consistency. I don't want any snow, but I would like some consistency.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said if it's going to be cold, just be cold for a week at least.
Yeah.
Let me be acclimated before you send it back to 70.
Dude,
because
for real, man.
I remember a few days ago I was in the truck and saw the temperature on the thing. It said 88 degrees, and I was like, "Geez, man!" And then 2 days later, I get in the truck and it's 30 degrees, and around the same time of day, might I add.
Well, here, like I said, going back to consistency, then I assumed Saturday night's main event was going to be on ESPN. Because, I mean,
Well, technically, it's not a PLE, though. Yeah.
That was where so anyway, I luckily I realized, before the CENA match that it wasn't on ESPN, and I flipped over, and I'm sitting there in the bar in New Orleans watching the CENA match, and everybody's kind of everybody kind of got around me, dude. It was kind of like, it's interesting, like CENA is, he's going to be one of the last ones, because I don't know if we're going to get something like this for The Rock. I mean, are we going to get like a Rock retirement tour? I mean,
no.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like this might be one of the last ones right now that's universally known.
Yeah, well, and this is the first time they've really done something like this in the aspect of it being permanent. Ric Flair went on his little thing where he was like, the next time you lose, you're going to have to retire. And he kept finding ways to win until finally at WrestleMania 24, he faced Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels kind of took him out behind the shed and did his thing. The infamous, "I'm sorry, I love you" line before he super kicked him and got the 3 count. But Ric Flair also wrestled again after that. And Cena is adamant that this is it.
Yeah.
And so if this is it, which I believe him when he says it, if this is it, this is the first and only time that we've really seen something like this, because nobody retires, but Cena said that, but he said he's done. So, yeah.
And it was cool because I was walking around Saturday night in my Cena retirement shirt from Knoxville,
Yeah.
And walking around just feeling it. I've decided now, you're not going to believe it, but this time, Christmas next year, I'm going to be in shape. I'm going as John Cena next Christmas. That's what I'm going to do.
All right.
I have a goal. Now, but no, everybody would come up and they'd tell me.
I found out that recently one of my Christmas gifts is going to be like an at-home treadmill, like one of the smaller ones that I can just and I'm like, dude, every morning I drop my son off to school, I'm coming home and I'm running at least a mile immediately every morning.
Oh yeah.
So I'm ready to drop a few LBs myself.
Exactly, dude. I mean, that's the key, man. Like, I mean, because if I had something like that, I mean, I'd watch Santi and whatever, some of my comic book YouTube, and I'd just be on the treadmill the whole time.
Check Amazon, baby. I'm telling you, they're pretty affordable.
I've been thinking about it.
Well,
so it was cool because, like I said, in Vegas, I mean, not in Vegas, in New Orleans, everybody would come up there and tell me their favorite wrestler. It was like an opening. I got a lot of Eddie Guerreros, I got a lot of HBKs. Man. It was interesting the names I would get, but like I said, Cena's one of those guys. I think right now he's the last guy. I don't know who after Cena has made a universal touch on people yet. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? In the company, because everybody's like, well, who's Gunther? They don't know who Gunther is. They don't know, like, I mean, they might know who Punk is, but Punk wasn't on that show. But I'm trying to think of who they might know. So
Yeah, I mean, the only guy that really rings to like in my head when I think that, but it's not gonna be to the same level is AJ Styles. I mean, he's worldwide known, but in
mhm.
terms of like cultural impact that Cena had, I mean, the last guy that was really that big was probably The Rock.
Yeah, no, I didn't know the
And I
Rock.
mean, the next guy might be Roman, but we're not talking about a retirement tour for Roman for maybe another 10 years. And
No,
and he's really solidifying himself right now in Hollywood. So
no, like I said, it's going to be interesting what this Street Fighter movie does, right? Because
yeah,
that could solidify Cody as well. I mean,
true, true.
so like Roman should technically be the next crossover. We've been waiting for it. Like I said, he's done the couple movies with The Rock and whatnot. You know, uh, but Cody, if this, but now, man, that hair. Did you see the Street Fighter trailer?
And look, I haven't seen the trailer, but I've seen still shots, a few pictures of everybody, and that hair is
I mean,
something.
look, it's game accurate. I'm not knocking it.
Right,
It's
right,
game
right.
accurate. But man, they could have taken a little bit off
Just a
of it,
little
maybe.
off,
Just a
man.
little off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and I mean even what's his name? His character's name?
he's gonna be Akuma.
Akuma. Like even his character, I don't know much about the Street Fighter series and all that, but he has more of like a not a less natural feel. So a lot of people might not see him and be like, "Oh, look, that's Roman
Right,
Reigns."
right.
They're gonna be like, "Is oh that's him? That's Roman? Okay, okay," because he looks a little rough around the edges in terms of his character design. So yeah, I'm some of the characters in there. I was like, man, who is it? Eric Andre. I saw was in there, and I'm sure that they're going to do their characters justice because again, I don't know a ton of them, but I'm very interested to see it. I have to admit.
I'm curious how camp it's gonna be because right now it's looking like it's going for that fun, slightly, over the topness. I wonder how absurd it's gonna be and like how much I'm just curious, man, because like Mortal Kombat, like the two games from that era, Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Mortal Kombat always lended itself to be more of like a serious game. It had the blood and the fatalities. Whereas Street Fighter was just like, like, I will beat you with my fists. So, we'll see. We'll see what's up.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, hey, look, before we jump into Saturday night's main event and then Monday Night Raw, I do want to, I want to say something about what happened last month to my family personally because I lost my grandpa almost a month ago, and it hit our family pretty hard. It was out of nowhere. It was really unexpected. I'm 30, and a lot of people. I'm in a very rare situation where I was born into a really young family. So when my grandpa became a grandpa, because I was the oldest, he wasn't even 40 yet. He was 69 when he passed and was still working every day. But more importantly, he watched our stuff religiously. It was literally the highlight of his day. He said when he could sit down and watch our videos. So look, man, it's been really tough, but I know that Grandpa would want us to keep going, especially with some stuff we have coming in the future. That's going to be really big for us, and that he was really excited to see. So we're keeping that push going, and yeah, I just wanted to say that as much as I miss him, and as much as it's been hard to get back to doing it after everything, he loved it so much, so we got to get back to it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, yeah, it's been different and adjusting, and it was kind of weird because I want to wrap that into Saturday night's main event. It was kind of weird, my grandpa was a lot like my father figure, but it was very strange and surreal within a few weeks losing my grandpa, but then also on a really kind of serious note, seeing John Cena, the guy that I watched as a kid, that my grandpa knew. My grandpa knew who John Cena was. I mean, everybody did. But even when I was a kid, he would say that oh man, I really like that guy. That John Cena guy's pretty cool. So losing my grandfather and then watching Cena step away and kind of like saying goodbye to a large part of my childhood all in the same few weeks was just like made me appreciate wrestling a lot more, man, and made me really miss what it used to be, but also like was very confident in the fact that he wanted to highlight the future and a lot of the guys that he viewed and women that he viewed as the future of the company. And I think that was a big part of Saturday night's main event. I think some parts of it fell flat, and I think a lot of parts of it felt rushed. But I think that we got to see a lot of talent that I'm sure that you, Matt, haven't seen before. And so, yeah, let's jump into Saturday night's main event and let's talk about that. We got to see Obafemi, the NXT champion that a lot of people had not been exposed to and didn't know the level of his work. And they really only got a glimpse in this match
Right.
because the match was cut short by Drew McIntyre. But in what little of you that you saw of Obafemi and his presentation, and I mean, I don't know if you saw his promo on
Yeah, yeah,
SmackDown.
no, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh
Oh
yeah,
my
no.
god!
I
And
was gonna
so
say
look,
if anything, Oba was it's the package because
yeah,
he's obviously a big dude and he can move,
yeah, six
but
six, 310 pounds, and is agile.
it's also like I said the fact how like his mic work, just running it down there, and him and Cody face to face. It was a lot of fun. I felt like there's a lot of respect there as well, though, which is why Drew coming out definitely skewed everything because I wanted to see just that match end. And then I felt like there's going to be like a handshake and like or a salute, you know what I'm saying, between the two guys. It just felt, there. I assume Oba's a baby face, in NXT, you know, a little,
He's
not
more
really.
like a heel,
Is he? Because
really.
he's
Yeah,
a
he
really
falls more
kind
on that
heel.
side.
He's a really kind
Well,
heel.
and that's what a lot of the criticism I saw that there was for this match was A, that it was short, and B, it was kind of weird their presentation of Oba because
Mm.
Oba is not naturally that like respectful babyface. He is more like I'm gonna stomp on your throat because I can. He's really that kind of guy. So it was a different presentation, but I don't think that it was necessarily meant to come across as, oh, we're presenting Oba as a babyface. I think it was more like he was pissed that Drew McIntyre interrupted the match, and then now he and Cody had a common enemy. And it was like, look, there may have been a no contest, and I'll shake your hand right now, but just know what would have happened if the match went the full length, you know? So I think it's more of like a yeah, respect because we're both champions, and like you kinda took me to my limit a little bit in these few minutes that we went. But don't be fooled. Next time we meet, it's on for real. So I feel like that's more the vibe I got from it.
No, I get that. No, like I said, it was like a visiting diplomat because, like, if anything, he played the visiting diplomat of I'm coming from NXT, but you better believe that in NXT I rule the roost. I rule this roost, and I should rule this roost probably. But I mean, as we said, it's the whole point of this was the past and the future, or not the past, but the present and the future meeting, maybe, or however you want to look at it. So, like I said, this was a really great match to highlight that. I don't know how fast some of these guys move on. I don't know like how the upgrading works from NXT to be like what it takes. Because last year, what we just had like 4 or 5 of the women just pop up without any pomp or circumstance. They're just like, now they're here. They're
Yeah,
here.
and that does kind of just happen sometimes. But we have seen like Javon Evans, who was in the tag match.
Right.
He is
Javon
getting a
Evans is getting
match.
a lot
Yeah,
more. Like, I
he's
feel
getting
like
a match on
he's
Raw next week.
right.
Yeah,
He's slowly being integrated into
which he should be.
he's fun, dude. He's fun.
Honestly, dude, he should be the youngest world champion in history. They should make him a world champion in the next year or two because I mean, look, mic work, he's there. Charisma, he's there. In the ring, he's obviously there. He had a match with Randy Orton on NXT and got the blessing to use the kind of like stunner / cutter that he uses or whatever, because that's kind of Randy's thing. Randy's move is just a cutter, just modified. And so after that, it was like a lot of respect between Javon and Randy and all the vets. And he's ready. He's more than ready to go
No,
up and
I can see him like going tomorrow against Dom for like the
the IC title. Yeah.
the IC title, or something like that. I don't know if I can see heavyweight. That's like, I just snorted. That was,
But even if it's in the next year or two, like let's say you make him IC or US champion, and
yeah,
he's
no, I see that
for
for
like
sure.
a month or two. The next year, he's still so young that if you give him a year or two, he would still be the youngest world champion in history. He's so young. I think because it was Randy Orton he was
Right,
nearly
Randy's
25.
it right now, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was nearly 25. And also how poetic would that be? Randy Orton's already kind of given his blessing and his the rite of passage to Javon Evans. What if Javon was the one to overtake Randy as the youngest world champion and even get more of a blessing from Randy? What if Javon beats Randy for a world title in the
That
next
would
year or
be
two?
that's where I thought you were kind of going. Like
That
maybe
would be
by that
crazy.
point Randy has it
From
from
Cody or
Cody or
whoever it may
something.
be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. No, look, I guess I mean I'm not going to argue that it's impossible. It's just right now, as we've said, the men's heavyweight division is so stacked that, like I said, they had to pull LA Knight out, and I feel like they had to pull Jey Uso out of it for a little bit because it's just, and that's with Seth being injured and everything else, and
Yeah.
Cena retiring. You know, I mean, like right now, like I said, I mean, how long are we gonna see this CM Punk run go? We'll talk about that later. But it's just, like what are we gonna do? So yeah, Javon Evans, I like how they're integrating him in. I like how they're moving him up. I mean, mainly I see him being like a tag team champion maybe first or something. But I definitely could see him.
Yeah. I'm
I
not saying he
definitely
would be
see him
world
going
champion before
right.
anything else.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, it's funny. Stephanie Vaquer came in and bam, women's champion,
Yeah,
right?
but she's also like in her mid-30s, I
Right,
think, and
right. She's older than
has
she's
been
older than I
around for
think.
like 15 years.
I got to remember, she's older than I think she is.
Right. She doesn't look it,
No, not at all.
She looks like she's 28
Yeah,
or
like I was saying
27.
27, 28. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
All right, so jumping into the next match, like I said, we didn't get to see too much of Oba, but we got to see a little bit of him, and I think
All
it's
these
more of
matches except for the CENA match were but part of it I think that is a Saturday Night Main Event. As you said, it's not a PLE. They got to keep it to a certain time limit. I
yep.
think they did a pretty good job though
Yeah.
highlighting all these NXT characters who came out. I mean, are we talking about the tag match? Or are we talking about Sol Ruka next?
Sol Ruka and Bailey.
Bailey.
Sol Ruka from NXT actually getting the win over Bailey at 9 minutes and 24 seconds. And look, a lot of people haven't seen Sol Ruka and haven't seen what she can do.
I'd heard her name, but for some reason, like I always thought, like that sounds like a musician's name too. Like if you told me, man, did you hear the new single from Sol Ruka? I'd be like, nah, dude, I haven't. Check it.
Yeah,
Let's hear
that's
it.
fair, actually.
So
Well, you may
I
have
don't-
heard her name from whenever she and her tag team partner Zarya were involved in the tag title scene, and I picked them earlier in the year because I thought that they were going to pick up the tag titles in a shocking fashion, or whatever. But she's been NXT North American champion. I think she's the current Speed champion, which they don't do really too much with the Speed championships. But no, Sol Ruka is, I think, I think she's a future world champion on the main roster. She's got that much potential, and she's that damn good. I think she could be. Look, biggest win in Sol Ruka's career, I think, so far, over a multi-time women's champion in Bailey. And I like that they played onto this Monday in terms of
right.
Like,
no, yeah. We
talk
about the continuation of it on Monday. It was very, very. I can't wait to hit you with that. Yeah, no, for sure.
So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, I guess just for a quick second, tell us what you thought of seeing Sol Ruka really for the first time being highlighted in the solo.
Like I said, again, look, these NXT cats are fun, dude. I mean, they're all fun. Like there's just more energy. It feels, I don't want to say there's more energy, but maybe it is like watching college football to pro football, right? You're going to get mistakes, but you're going to see some plays you've never seen before that may have come out of mistakes, right? And I felt like I just saw things with Sol Ruka in this Bailey match that I hadn't seen either of them do in a sense, and Bailey playing off of it and whatnot. So really just a lot of fun. She like I said, she moves really well. Like a lot of that just athleticness, So yeah, no, I look, the women's division could always use one more cat. I mean, but I don't know how soon until we see Sol Ruka on the main roster. So
yeah, I don't know how long until she's a permanent fixture on the main roster, but I can almost guarantee she'll be in the Royal Rumble.
Okay, yeah.
Her and Zarya probably. I wouldn't be shocked if they're both in the Royal Rumble. And maybe the Royal Rumble is her introduction to the main roster. Maybe after that she can start, maybe on Monday Night Raw you can then bring her and Zarya up and they can start doing stuff against the Judgment Day. I don't know, maybe something like that. But I think it's probably before WrestleMania. I wouldn't be too shocked. And if not, probably immediately following WrestleMania. I think within the next few months, she's destined for the main roster.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like she fits perfectly in with, like you said, with Bailey, with Lyra, throwing her right into that intercon, like get her with Becky, something like that. And then, also what's happening with Maxine Dupree on Monday, like they are pushing Maxine hard, kind of. I don't know. Am I going to say out of nowhere? Because I don't know enough about Maxine prior to a month ago or something when her and Becky started having their little feud. So I mean, look, like you said, the women's division, she would fit so perfectly in that women's division. I'm all for it.
And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if instead she's a permanent fixture on SmackDown, honestly. I think that the SmackDown women's mid-card division is kind of staggering. Yeah. It's a lot of Chelsea Green. It's a lot of Zelina Vega.
Oh, that's right. That's where Chelsea Green's at.
And I mean, look, even Jade Cargill, she's feuding with Michin and BFAB right now. And no disrespect to either one of those women. I think they're both extremely talented. But there was no premise or no previous storyline going forward that made me believe that they should be in the main event scene against Jade Cargill, the women's champion right now. And so I think that the women's SmackDown side needs a little bolstering, especially when you have two of your best in Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss in the tag division. So I think that the women's singles division really needs some bolstering, and I wouldn't be shocked if Sol Ruka is maybe your women's U.S. champion by the middle of next year. She could be running around with that thing.
There we go. Like I said, I see her in mid card for sure, and I didn't even think about the other side of it with Chelsea and and whoever else is fighting for that mid card.
I think her and Chelsea would be entertaining too,
Oh
if
God,
that's
that'd
where you
be
decide to go.
Chelsea's just too much fun.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun. And she's somebody that, like, she can lose the title a bunch of times because then she'll just brag about being the first ever 3-time US champion, the first ever 4-time. Like, she's just so good. She can make literally anything work. And you saw that on WWE Unreal in season 1, whenever they really highlighted her and her not only ability but willingness to just be like, okay, yep, I got it. I'll do the absolute best with it. And she does almost every time.
And on top of that, like right now, because of her secret Hervis, you've got 3. Anytime you put her up against somebody, you've got 3 matches at least.
Exactly.
You know, so you get to flesh it out a lot. So
yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean you can see Sol Ruka going against all 3 of them, and then some weird tag match, and then there's so you create a 4th match out of it, and then like 5th match is a title match. You know, so you can have a whole storyline right there, just with the secret Hervis.
Yeah, and Alba and Piper are no scrubs in the ring. Some of the best European wrestlers to ever make it to the WWE. Yeah, 100%. All right, going into the next match, we had the World Tag Team Champions, Dragon Styles, or AJ Lee.
AJ Lee!
They defeated Javon Evans and Leon Slater in 6 minutes and 26 seconds, but really felt like 10 minutes considering how fast they were moving.
I was about to say, like, Casey, for as short as this match was this not, though, one of the better tag matches you've seen all year?
100%. Yeah.
I mean,
and Yahoo Sports, where I'm reading, gave it an A-. And I think that's pretty spot on, 6 minutes and 26 seconds. But again, felt like 10 minutes of content that they really got in and were just moving around and flying. And man, imagine if these guys were given 10 minutes. This would have been absolutely wild. But yeah, look, the result that I expected AJ and Dragon Lee to pick up the win here. But Javon Evans and Leon Slater, not only is it really cool to see 2 young cats from NXT highlighted, but Leon Slater is also a TNA champion. And seeing a TNA champion highlighted on WWE programming is always going to be shocking to me because I grew up in the landscape of WWE, and TNA hated each other. And while TNA was never really that close to being number 2, they were number 2, and it wasn't even close for the longest time to who was number 3. So it is always weird for me to see TNA championships shown on WWE TV. I love it. It's awesome. I never thought we'd see the day. But
look how much Joe Hendry we get.
I know.
Speaking
but
of,
even Joe Hendry is kind of, more a WWE guy now because I think he's officially signed his contract with WWE. Right. But even still, he was TNA heavyweight champion, showing up, and we still see that like with Trick Williams and a lot of those guys. So it's it's nice and refreshing, and so was this match. This match was awesome. It was really fun.
No, look, and it's shocking that AJ wants to retire. It's like, I get it. You're up there too, the Cena just pulled the trigger, but like Cena's got James Gunn movies to go star in or whatever, I don't know what maybe AJ just wants to go live a life. I don't know, but it's like,
I think so, man. I think he just wants to go hang out with his wife and kids.
That's fair.
Because I think he has like 4 or 5 kids.
Talk about a guy who's, like I said, still 100% got it. And then talk about a guy that, we're kind of, I feel like a lot of people don't talk about Dragon Lee enough, I mean, NXT, these are the young guys, but Dragon Lee, like, isn't he a young guy too?
Yeah, I'd have to look up how old. He's not like terribly old, but he is a decent vet.
I mean, I thought he was
30.
Yeah. So he's still youngish,
Hey, I'm actually exactly a month older than Dragon Lee. How about that?
So he's younger than you.
Yeah, he's a month younger than me. Little bro.
There we go. So,
Yeah.
so
No,
yeah, no,
I
I mean,
agree with you. Look, I have to admit, I was a guy that kind of fell off of Dragon Lee for a while, but that's because they kind of stopped showcasing him as much on TV. And every time I see him in the ring, I'm just reminded of how great he actually is. He's so good.
see, I mean, for me, I didn't know him outside of Rey Mysterio. Like him and Ray were tagging, doing things together when I started watching again. And then Ray got hurt, and Dragon just kind of disappeared. Like they didn't know what to do with him without Ray, you know. But man, it's like, and I don't know. That's the one thing I don't know how much I've seen Dragon Lee work a mic, you know.
His English is not bad. There are still some there's still some verbiage that gets kind of lost sometimes when he is speaking English
Hmm.
that I think a lot of people will cringe at. But I think that like having people like Stephanie Baquer and and people like that whose English is good but still needs some work. I think people are getting a little like even Io Sky, and
Oscar,
Asuka and Kyrie.
Oscar.
Their English is good, but there is still some for
Hmm.
some people that is left to be desired. That doesn't bother me. I actually love it when people speak in their native language. Like I love it when they speak Japanese. I love it when Stephanie speaks Spanish. I love that shit. So I it doesn't bother me, but I think a lot of people are turned off by Dragon Lee when that happens. But I also think that WWE, like you said, it almost felt like, what do we do with them without Ray? And then what do? They throw him right in another tag team with AJ. I feel like they don't know what to do with Dragon Lee unless it's in a tag team.
Well, they didn't know what to do with him, and then on the same time, you're bringing up Penta, you know, and you're bringing up what his brother. Why am I blanking on his brother's name?
You're making me Ray Phoenix.
Ray
I was about to
Phoenix. I
say
was
you're
gonna
making
go
me
Ray.
blank.
Ray. I was like Ray. Well, Ray what? Is that Mysterio? Ray Phoenix. Yeah. So yeah. So you mean, and you brought those guys up, and it's like we just went luchador crazy at the same time. That like was like the worst time for Dragon Lee, right? So we got AAA involved. We got
Yeah.
El Grande Americano. Now
Well,
we
I also
have.
think that Dragon Lee has been working a lot at AAA. And so I think that's a big thing. I think that AAA was a great acquisition for them
Mhm.
because sometimes it is hard to get guys in masks over on the main roster. We've seen a lot of guys in the past, Kalisto, Sin Cara. We've seen a lot of guys where they were over for a little bit, but then when you get past the initial hype of them being like a high flying luchador, what else does their character have? And WWE, I feel like, has always struggled to do that outside of like Rey Mysterio.
Well, no, you're right because it's hard right now if you put them all on a line, right? You could pick out Rey Mysterio because you know who he is, period. But he's also shorter than all the rest of them, right? I mean, he's a short,
Yeah,
squat
I'm
little
taller than
dude.
Rey Mysterio,
Yeah,
and that's saying something.
So I mean, you tell Ray by his look, you could pull Penta out by his outfit. Like, let's be honest here, Penta's got that like coat thing that he always wears. It feels like that like goes down to his knees or whatever.
Yeah,
And if nothing else, he's got the serum. So I mean, like Ray, I don't know what Ray Phoenix's gimmick is. I don't know what Dragon Lee's gimmick is. I'm not sure how those two guys. And I feel the worst for Dragon Lee because all this stuff started coming on after I felt like he was getting established. You
yeah.
know, and now he's kind of like you said, he's been left to the wayside. He's in a great tag team with AJ, but anyways, that's all to say that we're taking on Javon Evans and whatnot in this tag match. And everybody's looking at NXT as the future, forgetting that Dragon Lee is also the future, or should be.
Yeah,
Just got to get
yeah.
him to work a mic or something, or get him to get a thing that's his.
Yeah,
So,
well, and also I think that WWE kind of relied way too heavily on the LWO stuff for way too long. I think it was really cool when they brought it back and they started because LWO was a thing back in the day, and then they brought it back and they really capitalized on it. They used Eddie's music, and I thought that was really cool for a while, but it did get stale because it got to the point of like, okay, these guys kind of lose a lot and they're really fun, but like what is Zelina Vega doing with them? She never really does anything. And even if she has them as backup, they're not going to put their hands on women that are attacking Zelina Vega, so then the backup felt kind of redundant, to have. And then whatever. And so I'm glad that they've kind of like started to separate the LWO a little bit. Like Zelina's now working with Alistair, Rey Mysterio is doing his own thing, Dragon Lee's doing the tag team. And so I'm glad that they're getting highlighted differently, at least. But Yeah, Dragon Lee should be one of the highlights of the lucha, not just division, but just like lucha wrestling in general for the next 10 plus years. So I think you're right. A lot of people do forget like this guy just turned 30 this year.
I
Like
mean, it's gonna be
you know,
really interesting. Like, I think we have to wait and see because I don't know what the Rey Mysterio retirement tour is gonna be like anymore. We haven't really heard much of it, and there's no reason to. You're not trying to steal the thunder from Cena, by mentioning, "Oh, I'm retiring too again." Don't forget about me. And you're not going to steal the thunder from AJ if he's retiring. I saw it as soon as February, dude. I saw February.
I don't think he'll retire in February
I
because I
saw
think
I saw I saw something that said February. I was like, what?
no, I'd be shocked because I feel like there's no way he would not do a one more WrestleMania match and retire in February. I think that he said he doesn't want to wrestle past 50. And so I think that he's just gonna do something similar to Cena and just say 2026 is it for me.
Right, right, right.
And then he'll just go until December 26, you know.
But then, you said, so when does Ray retire now?
Well, Ray said the same thing. He didn't want to
Yeah.
wrestle past his 50th, but that kind of got changed because he had a big injury and
Right,
was out for
right.
like a year plus.
I feel like we're waiting for Ray and Dom like to do something like along the storyline that you predicted many times or
Right.
something. We're waiting for the Ray Dom thing to end, Ray to retire before Dragon Lee can truly ascend. But by that point, I'm worried that, like I said, we're going to be all Penta. Not that I don't love Penta, but I mean, I'm just worried. I'm worried that Dragon Lee is going to get overlooked for Penta. You know.
There's a very good chance, but I think there's also a very good chance that this Penta injury will be a good way for
Well, that's true.
WWE
I
to
forgot. He
finally
he
put,
he he does have some real sort of things. He got taken out of
yeah,
the
his shoulder was messed up. But I think this is a good opportunity for WWE to bring him back to finally tag with his brother, wherever
right.
that may be, on Raw or SmackDown. I think, look, they're both not the youngest of guys. They've been wrestling for 20 years, I think. So run the WWE tag team while you can, sell the merch, let them have a title run, and then do them versus the New Day, them versus the Usos,
We got
them
to get
versus
them
all the
versus the
tags.
Usos at least for once,
Oh my
man.
gosh.
We got to get them.
We'll talk more about where I think that Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso stuff is going later, but I think it may be tough for them to cross over, unfortunately, to where they can actually face each other. But let's jump into the main event, a Saturday night's main event, what we've been working towards since Money in the Bank of last year when Cena announced it. And this is John Cena's final match where he is defeated via submission against Gunther in 23 minutes and 44 seconds. He actually tapped. And look, I got to say, let me just jump right into it. The outrage about this has been crazy, dude. So many people are upset or distraught, can't believe that John Cena, the guy that said never give up, oh my God, he gave up. And I think that's the whole point, guys. Like, we've seen the shots of him. Look, he's in the sleeper, and with a smile on his face, he finally taps. And I think that people aren't reading into this enough. I think it's not the fact that there's no way that Cena couldn't have fought out. Should he have passed out? Maybe. But I think that the key point of the storyline with him smiling and tapping out is I could keep going, which is what he said this whole run. I could keep fighting. I could keep going, but it's time for me to let go. And I think that was the whole ending of the match was I could keep fighting. I could fight until I pass out, but I'm good. I'm done. And he taps. And I think that's the whole point. It's not that, oh, I couldn't fight anymore. He could have fought. He could have fought. But his time is up. His time is no longer now. And he knew that it was time to let go. And that as much as you might hate it, that Gunther is, as of right now, the future for the next 5 to 10 years. And Cena is not. And so, look, a lot of people hated the ending. I loved it. I didn't just like it. I loved it. I thought it was perfect. I said that I thought he was going to pass out. But the fact that he smiled and then tapped out, beautiful. I thought it was beautiful. And I understand the hate because nobody wanted to see Cena tap out. And there's a lot of people that don't really understand that you go out looking up at the lights. And I think that Taker's last match being against AJ, in that boneyard or whatever match it was, I think that skewed a lot of people's mindset of how people should end their career. When in reality, that wasn't supposed to be Undertaker's last match. Undertaker is a guy of the business. Undertaker would have also gone out on a loss. Like he would have gone out on his back with the lights shining down on his face. Because we consider the death of the dead man at WrestleMania 33 when he lost to Roman Reigns, when he left his boots in the ring. That is the death of the dead man for a lot of us. So this whole concept of Cena shouldn't have even lost his last match, that's not how it's supposed to go. He's supposed to lose. He's supposed to go out. And sadly, guys, y'all should have seen this coming a mile away. When Gunther made it all about making Cena tap, y'all should have known that's what was going to happen. Y'all should have known that Cena was going to tap out. Because imagine Gunther coming back to work if he not only didn't make Cena tap, but he lost. He had to win. After he lost to Jey Uso at WrestleMania, after he lost to Sami Zayn last year at WrestleMania, he had to beat John Cena. And I have some bad news for you. I don't think this is the last guy that Gunther is going to retire. I think that Gunther is going to be the guy that retires people. Don't be shocked if he retires Rey Mysterio, if he retires Brock Lesnar, if he retires AJ Styles, especially after what we saw between Gunther and AJ on Monday Night Raw. I'm just saying, you guys hated this. You better get ready because Gunther is inevitable. It doesn't matter what you think. He is going to retire your favorite wrestlers, and he has already done it twice. He retired Goldberg, a lot of people's favorite wrestlers from the 90s. He retired Cena, a lot of people's favorite wrestlers from the 2000s. What do you think he's going to do to your next favorite wrestler? This is what Gunther does, and y'all should have known the whole time this is what Gunther was going to do. I loved it. I give it an A+. I hate to see Cena go, but this is exactly what should have happened.
I wonder what I would have thought if I hadn't known from your tutelage that you go out looking at the lights. Because like I said, I'm watching this at the bar and I got a little group around me and we're all watching on my phone on mute because we're in the bar, but everybody is as stunned as the kids in the audience, is as stunned as the professional athletes in the audience even. I think for a moment everybody thought John Cena might win. You feel it, and that's the beauty of wrestling. It's the selling the drama, and that's what they did so well. They sold the drama, and you're right. Cena tapping out is beauty. It is pure beauty. The smile on his face, the regard, the understanding. Like, this is it, man. It's like, but you don't give up. You never give up. He's like that's been his whole thing. He's not giving up at this point. He's making the choice to walk away. And walk away how he wants to, in a sense. Like, it's like he's coming back and wrestling another match after this one, so he gave up this time and is coming back. It's like, no, man, this is it. This is it. I have finally found somebody, I'm finally at the point where this guy is just, Gunther's stronger than me, man. He's bigger and stronger than me and younger and has the, and you could feel safe passing it on and whatnot. I don't know. It was really beautiful. It was really heartfelt. And then just afterwards, just the love for Cena,
Did you see the Cody interview, the impromptu interview that they did?
I don't know.
So they did. I think it was in the post show, because if you went to the pre-show, it was weird. The pre-show wasn't on Peacock for US viewers. The pre-show was on YouTube. Then you watched it on Peacock, and then the post show was also on YouTube. Right. And so it was kind of a lot of people were confused about it. But afterwards, whenever everybody started leaving the ringside area, Cody was the last guy left. And he was kind of just standing there, just staring. And they sent Jackie Redmond down. Jackie was like, "Oh yeah, everybody's gone, really, except for Cody." And I think it was Joe Tessitore who was working the post show. He was like, Go interview Cody. We want to know what he has to say. And so it could have been planned, but they kind of treated it like it was an impromptu interview. And, they asked Cody like what his thoughts were and all that. And he was crying. It felt really genuine. And so, look, I want to highlight something you said is whenever you're talking about the tap and how beautiful it was, but it was the fact that so many people, and Cena's been making the media rounds in the last few weeks leading up to all this, and so many people are like, "Man, we hate that you're leaving, but it's so rare that people get to leave on their own terms. And Cena even said in one of the interviews, he was like, I get what you're saying, but that's bullshit. I'm not leaving on my own terms. If it were up to me, I'd be working a full-time schedule next year.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
body can't do it.
Yeah, it's just yeah.
He said I would always step away when I lost a step, and I've lost a step, and I refuse to risk the legacy of that I have worked so hard to cement, to hang on for one last run when my body can't keep up. And then he was talking to Chris Van Vliet, and Chris was like, "Man, it's crazy you say that, because a lot of these matches that you've put on in this last run are some of your best you've ever
Right,
had." And
right.
Cena said, he said, "That's because I'm leaving everything that I have out there every time I do it." And he said every time the recovery is harder. The getting back to in ring shape is harder. Staying in the ring shape is harder. And he said so it may seem like every match I'm going out there and laying it all out on the line, and that's because I am. My body can't keep up. And like you said, there's something beautiful about, he said never give up. He's not giving up. His body is. And we all know what that's like. Father Time is undefeated no matter how strong you are. And Cena is acknowledging that before we really start to jeopardize his legacy and what he can do in that ring. And now, like Shawn Michaels, when he retired, he left such a great legacy and then came back and had that crown jewel tag team match, and he wasn't nearly the same, and it kind of was a stain. Same thing with Undertaker. He had a match against Goldberg, and it was terrible. Goldberg dropped him on his head, and it kind of was bad for both of their legacies.
That's why I'm kind of worried about. If you've heard, I'm sure you've heard Chris Jericho coming back.
Yeah, but he's been wrestling recently. Another guy that Gunther might retire,
Right, right. But
And
I mean,
so if Chris Jericho comes back, I'm assuming it's not for a 5-year run, full
right. I
time.
mean, if it's for like some short, story piece, I guess it works. But yeah,
I could
I
see
mean,
it being another year or two and him then calling it quits, because in a year or two, it sounds like so much, right? But how much of that is he going to spend on the road with his band or doing something else?
right, right.
He might not be there for 8 months of the 2-year run. So half the time he might actually be gone. But yeah, I think a year or two run from Jericho coming back would be fine. I don't think you need to make him your world champion or anything, but you could easily give him some matches with some current guys and some future guys that are upcoming, that they could say, "Oh, I had a match with Chris Jericho," and in his last run, and it could be a good rub for a lot of guys.
I mean, like, look at Brock Lesnar. He's like, I did a couple F5s. That was harder. I thought it was going to be do those F5s these days.
Well, the rumor is next year Brock is done too. The
That's
rumor
what I'm
is
saying.
that he wants to retire at SummerSlam.
Brock's done. No, Brock came back to realize he was done pretty much,
Yeah,
So
dude, he wants to go live on his farm in Saskatchewan or wherever he lives now.
I'm telling you, dude, he's Kingdom Come Superman. Go look it up.
I could see, just from some of the Superman stuff I've seen, I could see the connection there. But all right, so look, I think that's it for Saturday night's main event. But we talked about this before the show. You kind of put your hands up. You were like, that's all you.
Yeah.
I want to throw out my top 5. Listen to me carefully, people. Favorite CENA matches, not the top 5 best of all time. These are my personal favorite matches.
But this gives you a chance to get in the comments and tell Casey how wrong or right he is, or if he forgot one or left one out.
Please.
Let us know. Or give me a watch list of CENA matches that I should have watched by now.
Well, and I think after this, we're going to segue my list into a watch along. You're going to have to watch these matches now. So we're going to watch them together. I've already seen all these matches, obviously. Matt has not seen any of these matches.
Probably haven't, There's a chance.
I mean, the most recent one is like 6 years ago almost. So
yeah,
I would say you probably haven't.
I might have seen an early one. There's a chance.
All right, so my top 5 favorite, underlined, italicized, and bold, favorite matches of John Cena's career. Number 5, let me pull up my notes. Number 5, I have versus AJ Styles at the Royal Rumble 2017. Now, I told you, Matt, I was kind of bouncing back and forth. They have 4 or 5 really, really, really good matches against each other, counting the one at Crown Jewel this year. The one at Crown Jewel almost took this final spot for me, but I kind of flipped a coin and went with 2017. I felt like this was more of both of their guys in their prime, this was on a stretch where John Cena was trying to have the best match of the night every single time he wrestled, and a lot of the times he did. And against AJ Styles this night was a prime example of that. If you go look up a lot of John Cena's like top list of all time, this is up there like at least top 3 for a lot of them. So give me number 5 versus AJ Styles for the WWE Championship at Royal Rumble 2017. This was also when John Cena tied the 16 mark for World
Okay.
Championships with Ric
All right.
Flair.
All right.
Big night that he had in his career. That also goes to show you it took him 8 years to break the record after he tied it. So keep in mind, John Cena won his first world title in 2005, won his 16th in 2017, didn't win another one for 8 years. So a huge stretch where Cena was not a world champion. Number 4, you might not know this guy, but a lot of people are going to hear this match and going to be like, is versus Umaga in a last man standing match at Royal Rumble 2007. Now, you might not know Umaga, but he was the guy that, you know, the Samoan spike that Solo uses. That was Umaga's move, and
Okay.
they treated it like he was collapsing people's esophagus every time he used it. It was like he would just destroy people every time. Now, going into this match, Umaga was undefeated, had not lost a single match in his WWE career. John Cena was the WWE champion. This was for the WWE championship. And in a last man standing match, you know that you have to keep your opponent down for 10 seconds. Now, this was, as hindsight, someone who is older now and understands the psychology of wrestling, this was beautiful because John Cena ended up winning this match, but Umaga never took a pinfall and never took a submission. The only way that Cena was able to keep Umaga down, they had taken the ring rope off, and he, you know, his STF move he does where he kind of locks him in under the throat.
Yeah.
He wrapped the ring rope around Umaga's neck and just pulled until Umaga passed out. Yeah, 2007. It was crazy. This was while they were still PG TV 14. And so Cena was bloodied, and it was like, man, I remember it so vividly. I had this on DVD, and when I had my wrestling DVDs, I watched them on repeat a lot. I would just go cycle through the same few over and over and over. And so I watched this match a lot, and it was bloody, it was brutal, and it was the first loss that Umaga had taken on the main roster as a competitor, and it was such a fun match. When we watch it, you're gonna love it. I already know. All right, number 3. Number 3. This was on a Monday Night Raw, April 23rd, 2007.
Wow.
It was against Shawn Michaels. Now,
Okay.
this was fresh off of their match they had at WrestleMania 22, which I also had on DVD. Really fun WrestleMania. WrestleMania 22, Cena ended up, I think, I'm trying to remember if he made Shawn tap. I think he made Shawn tap with the STF because the next year at WrestleMania 20, no, sorry, this was WrestleMania 23, my bad. 22 was against Triple H, where he made Triple H tap out to the STF. I think he made both members of DX tap in consecutive years at Mania. It was actually pretty big. Anyways, a few weeks later on Monday Night Raw, this was a non-title match. It was just Cena versus Shawn Michaels, but if Shawn won, it kind of kept him in contention for the WWE title. And they wrestled for nearly an hour on Monday
Woo!
Night Raw. And this was when Cena was facing heavy criticism that he couldn't wrestle. He used the same moves over and over again. And this was kind of Cena's way to shut the crowd up. And even crazier, Cena lost. And he got the utmost respect from the internet wrestling community. This kind of changed a lot of people's perspective on John Cena and his deservedness of holding that world championship. And this was really what cemented Cena as like hey guys, I can go out there and do this too. You know, I don't have to use the same 5 moves. I can wrestle. And he really proved a lot of people wrong. And again, for nearly an hour, Matt, I was watching this live. I was at my grandparents' house watching it on their big box, huge screen TV or whatever. You know, you remember them with the huge back.
Yeah.
And I remember flipping to USA, and back then I understood timing and how matches work. And I was like, we still have like an hour left in the show, and this is the main event. And boy, if I would have known what I was in for, man, it was an excellent match. Excellent match. So it earns my number 3 spot. Now, my top 2, a lot of people will probably argue that technically and in the ring, they aren't as good as that Shawn Michaels match on Monday Night Raw, but sentimentally, they hold a huge place for me. And I think they are two of Cena's best matches. Number 2 is versus Bray Wyatt in the Firefly Funhouse match at WrestleMania 36. Look, this a lot of people don't consider a match. I don't care. It's my list. There was a pinfall win. Bray Wyatt pinned John Cena at the end to win. And I think this was really John Cena's way. I don't want to say apologizing because, John Cena was one of the greatest of all time. I don't think he has anybody to apologize to. But I think this was his way of rectifying a lot of the animosity that people held towards him for defeating Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 31, when you can argue that Bray Wyatt should have picked up that win. Look, Bray was really honestly disrespected a lot in his career in terms of like his pushes that went nowhere, and just there's a lot I could dig into. But with Bray being my favorite wrestler and him now, of course, being gone way too young, died at only 37, this was at the time the biggest win of Bray's career, arguably. It was a whole dissection of John Cena's career and the perspective of him to the fans, and the way that the fans thought about him and the criticisms of him throughout his career, really brought to life by Bray Wyatt and the storytelling of the two together. I think it was beautiful, and it was so much fun. And a lot of people look at it in a different way. Think you're doing yourself a disservice. I think you should go back and watch it again, especially now that John is done and Bray has passed on. I feel like it holds a lot more weight. And even at the time, I thought it was controversial, it was fun, and it got a lot of people talking. And that's what wrestling's about, dude. And it was really fun. And Bray was different on the other side of it, I think. And it was huge for Cena to really be vulnerable to all of us like that. And I thought it was a really fun match. All right,
I've heard of that one. I've heard of that one. So
dude, again, all these matches you're gonna have to watch because I think you're just gonna love all of them. Number 1, this one is in a lot of people's top 10 list. I've seen. I did some looking around just to make sure I wasn't crazy when I dropped some of these, but and just kind of to refresh myself over John Cena's 23-year career. But number 1 for me, this was the very first wrestling DVD that I ever owned in my life. I remember that my grandma brought me to the mall and I saw it on DVD and I was like, "Grandma, I've got to have it." And she was like, "All right, go ahead and get it." This was Unforgiven 2006 in a TLC match for the WWE Championship against Edge. Now, this was when John Cena and Edge were in a heated rivalry, dude. Heated. Cena had the spinner belt and Edge had won it from him. He threw the spinner belt into the Long Island Sound, and then they revealed a new championship belt. Now, Edge back then was the rated R superstar, and he was kind of doing risque stuff on TV with Lita. They had a live sex celebration. Kind of hard to explain, but yeah, you just have to see that episode. But the new belt was like all decked out in edges, like red and black. It was another spinner belt. And so that was the belt that was hanging above the ring. Now, a little context. Unforgiven '06 was in Toronto, Edge's hometown in Canada. So the crowd was hating on John Cena. They hated him and they let him hear it. And so Edge was the hometown favorite, but Edge was the bad guy. Cena was the good guy. And so it was a whole different dynamic. But again, in another match where Cena showed that he could not only step up, but he could step up in enemy territory, a hostile crowd. And he ended up winning the match. They were up on a ladder. They had 2 tables stacked up right next to the ladder. And Cena hit him with at the time, it was called the FU. It was changed to the attitude adjustment later on, the AA. He hit him with the FU through both of the tables off the top of the ladder and then pulled down the championship to win. And I tell you what, man, that being my very first DVD of wrestling that I ever bought, considering it was my first one, I had it for a long time before I got more. So I think I probably watched that match probably 100 times at least in the first month that I had it. And I knew that match back to front. And it was the first match that I ever saw that I was like, because I always loved Edge, but yeah, the long hair, the beard, I wonder where that came from whenever I was younger. But it was the first match that I was like, damn, this John Cena's actually really good. That was actually really fun. And as a 2006, I was 11, and so as an 11-year-old kid, I couldn't get enough of this this match between the two. And on top of that, that was Trish Stratus's first retirement that night. Actually, she retired that night in Toronto because that was her hometown against Lita. She ended up making Lita tap in her last match. One of the rare instances at the time where somebody won their last match, but Trish eventually came back. She came out of retirement, whatever. But yeah, so Unforgiven 2006 WWE Championship and a TLC match against Edge takes my number one spot and is my favorite John Cena match of all time.
All right. Hey, look, no Brock in there, no Punk.
Nah, man, I always felt like a lot of him and Brock's matches were just kind of like either slow or they were quick squashes on Brock's part, you know? I mean, their first match after Brock came back in I think 2012, I thought was pretty good actually because they had a match and then Cena used a chain to like catch Brock and then hit the AA and got the win. But then they had one at SummerSlam a few years later where Brock legitimately squashed him. Cena got in no offense, and it was just Brock suplex after suplex after suplex, and that's where Suplex City was born. And so I just always felt like their matches didn't really um it was always kind of the same dynamic in a lot of ways to me. And I don't want to say they were boring, but some of their matches would probably be more like top 15 or 20 for me instead of top 5 personally. But yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot that are going to be left off. He's had so many good matches throughout his career. But yeah, those are my top 5. We'll have to watch them and get your opinions on all of them.
Well, no Punk. I've always heard Punk was like the Punk.
Punk was close. They had a Money in the Bank match that was high up there. They had an even better match on Monday Night Raw that was kind of up there. But all the matches that I did have up there I felt like the AJ Styles match personally was better than the Money in the Bank match. You could probably rank the Raw match between him and CM Punk above the AJ match for a lot of people. But again, this isn't a best. This is my favorite. And so I felt like all the other matches above, as you could see, were older matches. It was 2017, WrestleMania 36, and then it was 07, 07, 06. So a lot of them had sentimental value when Cena was kind of like really cementing his legacy in the main event scene. So those, kind of hold a bigger place for me personally. But I wouldn't argue anybody that has any of the CM Punk matches in their top 5 favorite.
All right. Look, I mean, I'm all for it. I'm curious. Like I said, I'm curious about the what, what was the one guy's name?
Umaga. So Umaga actually is a part of the bloodline. He is a Samoan.
Right.
I think he was Roman's cousin or brother. One of the two. He's that same generation as like Roman, Rosie. No, Rosie was Roman's brother. I think Umaga is you don't know him, but his name is Zilla Fatu. He's on the indie scene right now. But that's Zilla's father was Umaga. Umaga was, man, talk about somebody that took a gimmick that was probably not meant to be very serious and then just kind of like ran with it, and they were like, oh, this guy's a badass, and really made it into a great gimmick. It's hard to explain, but when you see Umaga, when you see that match, you'll get it. You'll understand. He had Samoa tattooed right here on his stomach. He was covered in tats. They did like tribal face paint every time he wrestled. It was Umaga was special, man. He another guy that left way too young. He was released from WWE in like 2010, I think, and then passed away less than 6 months after he was released from a heart attack. And had a great rivalry with a lot of guys, but especially Jeff Hardy. John Cena, he had a good rivalry with. So yeah, Umaga, yes, awesome guy, really great in the ring. You're gonna love him.
Well, I just want to watch John Cena choke somebody out with a
dude
ring rope.
No way, because here's the thing. Daniel Bryan, whenever the Nexus got brought up to Monday Night Raw, I don't know if you know who Daniel Bryan is.
Yeah.
But Daniel Bryan got fired because they told the Nexus to go out. It's hard to explain who the Nexus is without deep diving into it, but basically they were a group of young guys who had competed on the reality show NXT before NXT was what it is today. Wade Barrett, who is on commentary now, ended up winning the whole thing, so he was guaranteed a contract. Well, on Monday Night Raw, they sent all of the people who had competed on NXT. They formed a group called the Nexus, and they came out and they destroyed everything. They tore up the ring, they tore up the mats on the side of the ring, and they destroyed John Cena. whatever, whatever. Well, in all of that, Daniel Bryan attacked the ring announcer and choked him out with his own tie. And it got shown on live TV, and
Right.
WWE was like, you cannot do that. And they fired him the very next day. But then they kind of were like, well, we did tell you to go out and do a whole bunch of crazy stuff. So they rehired him and they brought him back a few months later. But yeah, even that was in like 2010. So even 3 years later, that wouldn't have flown on TV anymore. So it was crazy when they did it. I thought as a kid, watching it and just seeing him choke him out and pull and pull and pull until finally Umaga is like, and then he passes out. Dude, it's like, yeah. Looking back on it now, crazy, crazy, crazy. But yeah, again, I'm excited for you to watch that match. Royal Rumble has a lot of sleeper matches. We might have to just do a Royal Rumble best of watch along because outside of the Royal Rumble matches, they've got a lot of good matches.
All right. Yeah. No, that'd be good. That'd be good.
All right,
Nobody ever thinks about the matches outside of the Rumble. On the
dude,
Rumble.
Triple H and Cactus Jack from Royal Rumble 2000. Cactus Jack, of course, being Mick Foley.
I'm about to say anything Mick Foley is, yeah.
Oh my dude, yeah. So Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns had a few great matches at the Royal Rumble. A lot of good ones, dude. A lot of good ones. So, all right, well, let's jump into for the next 30 minutes or so. Let's jump into the Monday Night Raw review. Let me actually pull up the Monday. I know we have our notes, but let me actually pull up Monday Night Raw results just in case I need to look back on anything. But I'll pull up our. Oh, by the way, last question that I had about John Cena: is John Cena the GOAT? I say yes. I think he's the greatest of all time.
It's hard to argue somebody who isn't. Or I mean, it's hard to argue that he isn't, I guess.
Yeah, if you can separate a lot of personal things, people would argue Hogan, and I get it. But when I look at what Cena has done, how he is outside of the ring, I mean, look, a lot of people might not say that this is indicative of a good wrestler, but the 650 plus Make-A-Wishes means something to me. That's pretty massive.
No, that's just incredible. Like, look, Cena's just an amazing dude. I'm telling you, like, even when I wasn't watching wrestling, I knew who John Cena was. I liked 12 Rounds, the movie.
Yeah,
I did.
I loved it.
I liked it.
Yeah,
And this is like one of those movies that in the Marine or something as well. When another one of his, like,
yeah, the Miz eventually took over the Marine, but yeah,
nobody watched. Like I said, nobody watched 12 Rounds. Like that came out of like WWE's own production company, right? Weren't they making their own movies back then?
Yes.
So
it's one of those now that's become kind of like you didn't watch it unless you watched WWE movies back then, really.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's kind of become like, in some sort of ways, cult classics.
No, 12 Rounds to me is a cult classic. Like
exactly.
I'd watch that movie again and be happy to do it.
Yeah, I would watch it again. Maybe that's another one we have to do a watch along of. We'll just do like a revisited. We'll go like Stone Cold Steve Austin's The Condemned. Do you remember that one?
I don't know if I remember.
Do you ever see that one?
I remember he was in one called Walking. Was he called Walking Tall? Was that him?
That was The Rock. Rock was in Walking Tall. The Stone Cold Steve Austin one, if I remember correctly, he was like on an island where he was trying to survive. But it was like when he was no longer an active wrestler, so everybody was like, "Oh my God, Stone Cold's in a movie," and it wasn't obviously the greatest movie of all time, but you watch it, you're like, oh, "This is just Stone Cold, though, dude." Like it's just so, it's like in its own way so good. So we'll have to watch.
We could do a whole series of wrestlers in movies, dude.
Randy Orton was in some. I mean, Miz was in a few.
We go all the way back. We get the Hulk movies. We get the Andre the Giant movies.
Triple H and The Babysitter. The Big Show was in some. Oh man, yeah, we could make a whole little series where we just watch old bad WWE movies.
God, Hulk was in Suburban Commando.
Suburban Commando.
I don't know if you remember that one. But I mean, Andre the Giant's in Princess Bride. You know, so anyway.
Hey, my wife would not complain if we watched that one.
Look, I don't know where you put like right now because I don't know enough of like the early. Like, do you take anybody like that? I don't know, like was a Bruno? Is there a Bruno guy or something like
Bruno
that?
Bruno Sammartino?
Yeah. Like, do I take? I don't know where those guys fit in the grand scheme of things. But when it comes to people we've actually seen,
Yeah, John, I mean, you can always go back. It's just like any other sport, right?
Right. It's like where do you take the goat from?
Where do we hold Bill Russell in the aspect of greatest of all time?
Yeah. How do you do Wilt and do exactly?
Where do we hold Bart Starr, the first Super Bowl champion ever? So it's like obvious. All these guys are pivotal to modern day wrestling. Like there would be no Roman Reigns without Bruno Sammartino. There would be none of them without Gorilla Monsoon
Right.
or Freddie Blassie, a lot of those guys. But it's like when you look at the cultural impact, and sure, it's easy to say that 50 years after a lot of these guys have come and gone because there's more people to watch the product. There's more ways to get eyes on the product. But like when you look at the cultural impact, I mean, look, a lot of people argue Jordan over LeBron because of the cultural impact that Jordan had. John Cena is the Michael Jordan of WWE. You can't argue that anybody had a bigger cultural impact outside of maybe Hogan than John Cena.
I mean, look, I feel like the only guy really there's only two other guys in our generation that we can argue for, and that'd be Hulk, and that would be The Rock, right?
Yeah,
And
true. You could say The Rock.
I mean, look, and I feel like The Rock got away from wrestling too fast, maybe.
He did, I think.
You know,
Because
like
when you look at his prime, he was really only in his prime for like 5 years, and then he was gone full
right.
time.
So, and then you look at Hogan, and it's really hard, like you said, to differentiate the man from the wrestler, especially at the end of his life, and all these stupid things. Like, I mean, it makes me wonder, like if Hulk had been Hulk now versus 20 years before, and didn't feel like he needed to make that, like, whatever that reality show was with his family,
Yeah,
you know.
Hogan Knows Best or
Yeah,
something like
I
that.
mean, like all this stupid stuff that came out, but that was stupid stuff that we saw coming out, like for like people who wanted to still be famous back, like sex tapes. You don't hear about sex scandal tapes anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
I mean, I'm sure they still exist, but like that feels like it was a thing of like the turn of the century, early 2000s. Like everybody's got a sex tape who wants to be
right.
relevant still, you know? So I just, I mean, and let's be honest here, Hulk is somebody who always, I don't feel like John Cena has to be relevant. I feel like John Cena enjoys it, but I feel like if it all disappeared tomorrow, John Cena would be happy it happened.
Yeah,
Versus
perfectly
Hulk,
content.
Hulk, I don't think ever learned how to let it go.
Look,
And
I hold a lot of them in the Hogan I view as the biggest pioneer of the business. When you really break it down and when you consider his cultural impact of the time that he was relevant,
mhm.
without Hogan, a lot of what we have today it might have failed. And I do respect that. Didn't like the guy as a person outside of the ring, but when you look at his cultural impact and what he did inside the ring, I mean, he was a selfish guy, even behind the scenes, but without him, wrestling might be dead today.
Yeah, no,
And then I
with
look at a
yeah,
guy
yeah.
like The Rock, and I consider The Rock is the biggest crossover superstar ever. But like you said, he left wrestling too fast. He grew too fast. Hollywood saw what he was, and they were like, oh, we got to get him immediately. And then it came to John Cena. John Cena started getting into Hollywood, but he always kept wrestling. Like when he was around, he always kept it his number one thing. You know, like John Cena went on his best wrestling run 15 years after he started in like 2016, 2017. 15 years after he started was already a billionaire in Hollywood.
Mhm.
And so I feel like a lot of people, even though Cena is a lot of ways similar to Rock in his path, I think a lot of more people have more respect for Cena because he always came back and he always respected the business more than The Rock did. So when I look at the biggest Hollywood star from a wrestler, yeah, it's The Rock. But when I look at the greatest wrestler of all time and everything that encapsulates the greatest wrestler of all time, it's Cena. And I really don't think it's close, honestly.
I mean, like you said, it's Cena or it's Hulk. And like
Yeah.
I always go with Hulk. Like you called Cena Jordan, but really it's Hulk's Jordan. Hulk's the guy who changed everything.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys that I wonder, we talk about one of the things between LeBron and Jordan is longevity. The fact that LeBron is still doing it at a high level. And it's one of those things, like I wonder, like I said, if Hulk had been 20 years later, if Jordan had been 20 years later, would Jordan have not been such a gambler and been more committed to his body the way that LeBron is, or would he just have still been, because that's who Michael Jordan was? I don't know.
And I'll give you credit. I will say Hogan is a lot more like Jordan. Cena is a lot more like the modern day LeBron. If you make the comparisons, but then to not push back, but to counter that a little bit is I think that's the beauty of comparing instead of who the greatest of all time is comparing eras. Because sure, 20 years later, Jordan may not have been such a bad gambler and he may have been committed, but also people may have been more accustomed to guard him, or his game might not have translated, and he might not have been as, Jordan was better than everybody in the league at the time, and it was by leaps and bounds. But maybe now today he might not be leaps and bounds better than everybody else. He still would probably be the best player in the league or one of the best players in the league. But how much has the game caught up to Jordan's style of play 20 years later? Similar to Hogan. 20 years later, Hogan's like, eat your vitamins, say your prayers may not have had the same impact on millennials coming up in the 2000s.
No, that's why they're perfect for the age. Like I said, Hulk.
Yeah, I agree.
Hulk, like you said, without Hulk Hogan, we might not have modern wrestling, because it was at a very interesting precipice when he was in there, and he helped, along with Vince McMahon, create the spectacle, create this thing. WrestleMania is a thing because of Hulk Hogan. Wrestlers in the mainstream, because he was in the Rocky movies. He, like I said, he crossed, is because of Hulk Hogan. Same with like Jordan. The fact that we have international basketball is because of that dream team, pretty much going out there and inspiring all these other countries. Like, look how much fun Michael Jordan has playing basketball. But then it ends, and when Jordan ends, it starts. And if anything, who's the one we put in between?
The Rock.
The Rock is Kobe.
Ooh, that I'm right there with you. That's such a good comparison.
I mean, The Rock is Kobe, and then Cena's LeBron. It's like, and if you've been watching the last 20 years, you didn't see Hogan, or you might have seen Hogan for 2 seconds. You didn't see Jordan. You've seen LeBron. You know what LeBron can do. And so
who's Roman Reigns? Who's Roman Reigns in basketball aspect? I mean, he's got to be like a Jokic or a Giannis, right?
Probably like a Giannis.
Yeah, like a slower, more methodical but strong guy.
See, I was more thinking like who's Curry, who's Steph Curry in this?
Ooh.
Like is that Seth? Is that Seth, or is that Punk? It's Steph Curry. See, so there you go. So
there you go, Seth Curry. Hey, that's his brother. There you go. All right. Well, hey, look, I think if nothing else, we can agree that CENA is on the Mount Rushmore of all-time WWE.
Dude, we're never going to see another CENA, like you said, from everything he does. He's the last of a generation, in a sense, and like I said, the last of the ruthless aggression, as we're talking about. These guys, we got Ray left, Randy,
Brock,
and I guess Brock technically, and Punk, right? That's about it. Those four.
Well, and Punk even didn't come into like 06, 07, so he's kind of like post like ruthless aggression. I think they call them like the golden era now because of just like that generation. But yeah, it's Brock, it's Ray, it's Randy, and I mean, you can maybe throw the Miz in there because he's been around for like 20 years in the WWE. He came around 06, 05-ish because he was a host of an MTV show that I can't remember the name of off the top of my head.
But if you aspire to be like John Cena, you're not going to go wrong. I mean, let's be real here.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, like you said, from his Make-A-Wish, like whatever record to just his humbleness to lose, I mean, like you said, it's like we talk about him. It's like the first time he lost was Saturday Main Event. That dude's lost all sorts of matches.
Yeah, he's lost 1 million times.
Yeah. So, I mean, and still to be the best.
He's a 17-time world champion because he lost it 16 times. There you go. Yeah. Well, he lost it against 17.
He's lost it 17 times.
Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, same thing with Ric Flair. A lot of people used to criticize Flair. They're like, 16 times, but how many times you had to lose it so many times, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, yeah. All right. Let's actually jump into Monday Night Raw now. I thought Monday Night Raw was fine. I didn't think it was like, the best show of the year, obviously. I felt like some of the Raws lately have felt really slow in terms of like we're building up to a lot of the WrestleMania push starting next month.
Well, this is the dead time.
To Raw on Netflix
it's the dead time, and I think, like you said, they're pushing for the first Raw of the year, right? That's the next
1 year anniversary of Raw on Netflix. So
even though it's not a PLE, that's the big push. So right now, everything's kind of coming out of Saturday Night Main Event, coming out, just setting things up, things that we already knew, like and the Kabuki Warriors and all that stuff. It's just setting it all up really nicely. We got that nice tag team match in Raw, though. The Usos and the New Day. Always fun to see those two go together. And like I said, for a lot of people like me, only seen the Usos tag on video, in a sense, or on past YouTube. I haven't seen them actually live because it's been. I mean, when's the last time they probably tagged?
early of 2024, and it was just like a one-off thing.
Right, yeah,
But
yeah.
last time they were like a solidified team, I think was 23 whenever they were tag champs like against or they were going for the tag titles against Kevin and Sammy at that Mania. So it's been a while, but yeah, dude, their Hell in a Cell match against the New Day from like 2017. We'll have to go back and watch that eventually. Yeah, fun little tag team match we got, but let's start with the opening of the show. We get Gunther. Of course, we figured he was going to open up the top of the show.
We had to.
Look, dude, you wrote it, Gunther, super dick, but that's what we want, right? And yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. Like, that's exactly what should have happened when Roman beat Undertaker at WrestleMania 33. Came out, he let the crowd boo him, and he said, "This is my yard now." Dropped the mic, and the crowd booed him out of the building. And that's exactly what you should do. He made John Cena tap out. Like, what do you want him to say? He did what he said he was going to do.
And he called him a bitch.
And he called him a little bitch twice. Dude, this is what you want your top heel to do. And he followed through on what he said he was going to do. And how else would you have expected him to act? I loved him coming out and eating it all up from the crowd for what felt like 30 minutes and then going backstage and he's just laughing at everybody that's pissed at him.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know why you guys are so mad. I did what I said I was going to do. I've been saying this for weeks. And look, man, there's something that I like about an old school traditional guy that backs up what he says he's going to do and then has no concerns about whether you like it or not. Like, he's like, I'm a bad guy. I don't care what y'all think. And I love that. And then like you typed out here, we finish his little walk through the back with him meeting AJ outside. AJ waiting outside in the cold with the snow on the cars, leaning up against the car waiting. I loved it. And you asked if it's foreshadowing. I 100% think it is. AJ is coming to an end next year. He already said he's retiring. I think that Gunther retiring him, why not keep the heat going and make it? It makes the most sense.
Yeah, retire AJ. Look, I think it's a given he's retiring AJ now. I think he's going to retire Brock. You know, I don't know about Ray because I still like your Ray storyline of having like Dom retire him or something like that. But
well, I think that Ray may face Dom at his last WrestleMania. Look, Gunther, Rey Mysterio, Brock Lesnar, AJ Styles, even Randy Orton, even like because Randy used to use the Legend Killer gimmick.
Right.
What if Gunther
the Legend Killer
is
killed by the Legend Killer,
the Legend Retirer or something like whatever they call him? He's the new Legend Killer because he's actually putting all these legends out to pasture. You know, and I mean, you could even make it a thing. Undertaker used to have his WrestleMania streak. Have Gunther start keeping tallies of everybody he's retired. And he's reminding us every week of all the guys that I've retired all of your heroes. And I'm going to keep retiring all of your heroes. And yeah, I think 100% this was to set up AJ and Gunther for AJ's retirement. And you asked me to put money on it today. I'm putting money on Gunther to retire AJ Styles next year.
All right, now here's my one question about this whole thing is when he came out and I knew it was going to happen. I was hoping it wouldn't, but I knew it was. When he came out, the crowd reminded him, you tapped out. So does the WWE regret having Gunther tap out against Jey Uso? Like, is that going to be one of those things like, oh, he shouldn't have done that? You know, I mean, because I feel like that's the one thing they're fighting right now from Gunther being like ultimate, you know, badass is that you tapped out against Jey, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe in a way WWE is probably a little annoyed, especially with how the Jey Uso solo run kind of has worked out so far. I think that if maybe on the back end of all this Usos stuff that Jey does finally go lone wolf or heel or whatever, maybe you can rectify it a little bit. But I think more importantly, they're just going to, or more than likely, they're just going to kind of sweep it under the rug. I think they're going to kind of push it to the back of everybody's brains and just hope we kind of forget about it because they do that for a lot of stuff. But I think that if you want to give us something to forget the tap out, they're doing a pretty damn good job. And honestly, down the line, you could be like, yeah, so what if I tapped out? I still made John Cena tap out. So, you know, he doesn't care, man. So maybe in a way they're kind of like annoyed, like rolling their eyes because the Jey Uso experiment seems to not be working. It's kind of weird that it almost feels like Jey has kind of gotten worse since the since the solo run started,
Dude,
like the mic work
Jay's
seems
been
to have taken a step
I don't
back.
know what's going on with Jay right now, dude. Like, I mean,
I think the lights are a little too bright, man. I think they are. And look, this is from a guy sitting at home talking into a mic and into a camera. I know that Jay Uso doesn't care about my opinion. That's fine. I'm just saying, as a fan who has watched Jay Uso for 15 plus years now, obviously he was excellent in the tag division, but it seems like since he got the solo run, the in-ring work has taken a step back. The in-ring conditioning has taken a step back. The mic work has taken a step back. I mean, he's great with the crowd, don't get me wrong, but that's only part of it. You have to do the rest of it. Cena did all of this that Jay seems to be lacking without the crowd support for majority of his career. The crowd hated Cena for a majority of his career. Imagine if the audience turned on Jay Uso, how easily he would shut down or forget his lines or be overwhelmed and not know what to say, because we see that a lot now with the crowd support for Jay Uso. So
no, no. Look,
I
I
don't
feel
know,
like you're right.
man.
It's the lights. It's maybe that you finally got to that level, and now you've got to trade barbs with Seth and Punk and LA Knight, and you just can't. You're just not. You just don't have the mic, and I don't know what it takes to have those mic skills. I want to pretend like I have those mic skills, so I could just run a mic up there. I get up there. I mean, God, dude, CM Punk eviscerated Braun Breaker on Monday night
Yeah.
in his
Yeah.
promo.
And not to
Just
interrupt you, but how are you going to do a Jey Uso and CM Punk program when Jay can't stand, when he can't lace CM Punk's boots in terms of promo
that's
battles?
what I'm
Like,
saying.
he's going to embarrass Jay, and Jay's going to get lost in the promo and say, "Yeah, well, 4 letters,
Letters,
one
one
word,
word.
and then play my music." And then CM Punk's going to be like, "No, cut the music off. We're not done talking yet." And then he's gonna just, like you said, eviscerate him. I don't know, man. That's why I wanted Jay Uso to join the Vision, to let him just kind of like be a part of something for a few months, be on the side of Paul Heyman, who is one of the greatest mic workers of all time, and maybe get Jay some acting classes. I don't know, man, but
I mean, I
it's
don't know,
just
because during the Gunther thing, when Jimmy was getting beat up and stuff, and Gunther was, I felt like Jay was coming. But it's like once he got, because he's not even like going against Punk. It's like going with Punk and LA Knight. Like he can't have a conversation with the three of them like on stage and like contribute anything. You don't have to like sit there and rip into LA Knight like I'm the best ever. But you're right. It's like every time he's like, oh yeah, yeah, uh-huh, 4 words or 4 letters, one word. I mean, that is, and part of it might also have been that during his entire come up, the crowd kept yeeting at the wrong times, So like,
mhm,
I don't know. It's like, what do you do with Jay? Because it's yeet all the time, unless he doesn't want you to yeet. And then if you don't yeet, he doesn't know what to do, so he gets you to yeet. So I don't.
exactly.
I feel bad because I feel like Jay, talent wise, is a heavyweight or whatever, is a top belt contender. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, look, dude, when the bloodline stuff was in its peak and was really rolling, Jey Uso was my favorite person through all of that. I thought that his dynamic through the group was excellent. I thought that sometimes his acting felt a little cheesy, but it kind of worked. And then it's like he went out and did his own thing where he's not surrounded by 5 other people at all times. And it's like, okay, Jay's kind of the worst guy on the mic to come out of the whole bloodline stuff. Sami Zayn, Jimmy Uso, Paul Heyman, Solo Sikoa, Roman Reigns, they're all better than Jay on the mic. And I'm supposed to believe that Jay is world championship material when he can't hold a candle to any of his family members on the mic. The believability is just not there for me. And it pains me to say that because Jay Uso was one of my favorite guys on the roster 3 years ago. And now in 2025, unless you're going to turn him heel and not have him talk as much, I don't really know what you do with him. And we already talked about the tag team match. The tag team match between them and the New Day was great, and their chemistry is always going to be there. But I still see this resulting in them losing that tag title match that they're probably eventually going to get, and then Jay finally finishing the crash out and snapping and probably turning on his brother. And I think that's what he needs. I think he needs to like be a guy that doesn't care what anybody else thinks, because he always gives us that impression, but then he craves the validation of the crowd. Then he turns around in his match and he's like, come on, I need y'all to yeet, run my music. And it's like, Yeah, but you were just like last week telling us that you don't care what anybody else thinks, and then you look to 20,000 people for validation. It just doesn't feel authentic to me in a lot of ways.
One thing, they ran his music for the tag, which was interesting. Like they didn't play the tag music, they played Jay's music. How far away you think we are from Naomi's baby? Because
She announced what right before SummerSlam?
that's Jimmy's baby, right?
Yeah, it is Jimmy's baby.
So I mean, I could see something like this happening until the birth of the child, and then we have, like you said, the fallout, so Jimmy can take some paternity leave, you know,
You're
and then
probably right about that.
who knows, man? I mean, look, maybe Jay just needs to disappear at the same time for like a month, like we're seeing with LA Knight. Like, it's just take him off for a minute. Let's stop yeeting every Raw, you know. Let's stop doing the 2-hour yeet fest and see what happens when he comes back in like 2 weeks or a month, you know?
All right, so according to Google, because she indicated she was about 7 weeks pregnant in August, that she should be having her baby sometime around February or March of next year. So, I mean,
see, so I can see them run this tag thing through January, her have the baby, and then the tag breaks up, like you said, and they have some huge falling out, and Jimmy goes to paternity leave, and him and Naomi do the paternity leave or the, the baby time.
Honestly, with WrestleMania now being in the middle of April and not at the beginning, I could see them doing something where Jay finally snaps whenever they don't win their tag title match and he just attacks Jimmy. Jimmy is home for a while to be with the baby, and then the whole time that Jimmy's gone, Jay is doing his thing, yapping. And I wouldn't be shocked if Jay comes back at the beginning of April and then they set up like a few weeks build for them to face each other at Mania again, and then it's brother versus brother 2 because they already did it a few years ago at WrestleMania. So let him run it back and let Jay be the bad guy. Let Jimmy be the good guy that just got off the shelf with his newborn child. And, he's like, I got to show my kid Oos that even if you're my brother, I'll still whoop your ass. And then they can just fight. I got to show my kid that even if you're my family, you got to respect me. And then they just go in. And look, let me use that to segue into our next point, because I think we're going to see a lot of the backstage building up of all of the Uso stuff on Unreal Season 2, which was announced for January 20th. How excited are we for Unreal?
Dude, I didn't realize it was going to be that soon. January 20th. Yeah. Get ready, Season 2.
I am, Season 1 was the most captivated I've been by a wrestling.
And it wasn't as, what's the word I'm looking for? But like exposing as I thought it would be.
Revealing?
Yeah, revealing. It wasn't, it didn't do what I feared it would do. So far I'm good with it, you know?
Yeah, and they kind of confirmed, I think, like 10 to 15 names of people that will be highlighted on the episodes. And, a lot of them I'm really excited about. We talked about Naomi. We're gonna get some insight into her journey, and then from what I heard, even her pregnancy, maybe, like, and how that is all going, and when she found out. And I mean, among a whole bunch of other, Seth, we're gonna get to see a lot of him. Cody, obviously. I loved Unreal Season 1 so much. I hope they drop the whole season at one time like they did last season.
Right.
Because I would really hate to get one episode a week. I really hate that shit. I don't love it. It's 2025. If I want to watch weekly programming, I'll pay for my cable still. But yeah, I'm so excited for Season 2, dude. January 20th cannot get here fast enough. So, we talked about my grandpa really early on in the show, and how he, we recently lost him, of course, but he, even as not of a bigger wrestling fan as he was, loved Unreal Season 1. He was like, man, I kind of always assumed a lot of this happened that way, but that was so cool getting to learn so much of that. And if you can get a nearly 70-year-old man to be interested in the backstage makings of a WWE show, you're doing something right and you're catching a lot of people's attention. So I'm really pumped for Season 2. I'm really pumped.
Yeah, no, same. Like my parents both, I watched it. I think it came out during the summer, so I was at home. Right. I was in Vegas, and both my parents watched it, no problem. Like, they didn't mind me going to the next episode. Like, they keep going. Let's see what's good.
Yeah, let's watch episode 3.
Yeah, So, and they're not opposed to watching WWE when I'm home either. So
I remember you telling me that you were like, yeah, we're watching it together. I was like, you guys are watching the PLE together,
right?
And you were like, yeah. Yeah, dude, we're watching it right now.
That just shows you as well production value, how much the production value in WWE has come up, that parents who would never watch it before are like, yeah, no, that's pretty good.
Yeah, because we're not talking about like 40, 50-year-old parents. We're talking about people in their 60s and 70s that are like, yeah, you know what? Keep it on. Okay, I'll watch it. Yeah, so because my grandpa went out of his way to watch it. I recommended it. And he was like, oh, I'll think about it. And the next time I had seen him, he said, I watched every episode in one day. I watched it all in one day. I was like, "Damn, grandpa, I didn't even do that." So he was really captivated by it. So yeah, I'm so pumped. All right, so after that, we get Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky, which we joked that they were going to call them months ago, and now here we are,
Yep.
kind of predicting the future yet again. And they come out, they're about to start talking on the mic, and immediately Asuka hits Rhea with the poison mist, and they attack both of them, and yeah, and that's kind of the segment.
Look, I mean, look, two things for me. A, this needs to end soon because I mean, I was all for it, but now I feel like this is just running and it's like the poison mist every time. It's like, I don't even know how that works. Like, does your mouth not suck? Like, is Oscar, can she taste anything? You know?
Well, so I'm assuming she has like a capsule in there that she just cracks and then, whatever.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but I think this is all working up to, we've been away for a while on a hiatus, but a lot of people have been talking about how this is more than likely going to lead to a multi-women's match, probably a six-woman or a six-tag team TLC match for those championships. And it would be, I'll try to name all the teams, but Rio, the Kabuki Warriors, Alexa and Charlotte,
Yeah. Probably Bailey and Lyra or something.
Alien Lyra, the Judgment Day, and then there's one more team that I can't. I'm drawing a blank on, and I'm gonna feel silly for drawing a blank on them later. But yeah, the rumor is that we're working towards a really big multi-women tag team TLC match for those tag titles, and that's what we were saying earlier. The tag titles scene for the women has never been stronger
Right.
when you consider everybody that's in it. But then you look at the mid card on SmackDown for sure, but also Maxine Dupree's doing a great job right now, I think, as champion. But both divisions are a little left to be desired. Raw is, I think, more ahead in terms of like their women being ready. And then SmackDown's mid card or their solo women's roster, like we talked about earlier, feels a little behind. But outside of all this tag team stuff, when this all finally dissipates and breaks apart and someone is standing in the smoke, I think two or three of these teams may not be together anymore. And so in 6 months, we may be talking about how weak the women's tag division
Right.
is
No, look,
after how strong it is.
we're waiting for the Kabuki Warriors to explode. We saw again when Kyrie went to do her insane elbow and she came down on Io instead of Rhea, and she's like, "Oh, this feels so
Yeah.
bad." And then that's the
Yeah.
first time in a while that we've seen Asuka and Kyrie kind of fight because like they've been simpatico for the last couple weeks, whereas before we thought like it was a lot of that Asuka ordering her around, waiting for Kyrie to break. So I still think that's there. You know, I think the other thing though is that in the next week we're getting Rhea and Asuka in a singles match. It's like I just need this to do something.
Yeah. No, I
I'm
get it. And the thing is the Kabuki Warriors, Rhea and Asuka, Alexa and Charlotte, they're all probably destined to be broken up soon. I think Rhea and Asuka will, or Rhea and Io, sorry, will win the tag titles. I think that you don't put them together if you're not going to give them the tag titles. You think you kind of have to at this point. But I could see them, I talked a lot about in my fantasy booking of Ray and Dom about I think they should be tag champs and face each other at WrestleMania. I think we could see that with Rio. I think we could see that with Rhea and Io, where they're tag champs and they kind of are like, look, mutual respect thing, but let's have one more go at WrestleMania and let's just who the better woman is. No title on the line. We're the tag team champions. We've never been more compatible. And I think that they would probably put on the best match of their series that they've had against each other so far. And a lot of people are seeing it go that way. I wouldn't be shocked if it goes that way. But like I said, I think like three of these teams are destined to not be together
No,
6 months from
well, I
now.
mean, they're all filled with like women's, title contenders. I mean, like
Exactly.
Charlotte, Lexa easily, as we said, Rhea, Io easily, and depending whether it's Liv or Raquel or Roxanne, whoever, I'm sure Oscar
I think it's
easily.
going to be Liv and Roxanne because we'll talk more about Raquel later, but I don't think she's done with the women's title just yet.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's just like I said, it's just full of women singles women wrestling in tags right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Like you said, like in 3 months, I could easily see a bunch of these women now going for single titles and whatnot.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of the women's mid-card division, we have Maxine Dupree defending her women's Intercontinental Championship against Ivy Nile. Now, the last few weeks, we have seen promos and vignettes of Maxine training with Natalia.
Mm-hmm.
or Natty Neidhart, her new gimmick character she's got going on. She's kind of used it in NXT and in Bloodsport, but this is really the first iteration of it that we're seeing on the main roster. And she even made Natalia tap out in a promo, in one of
Right.
those promos.
Again.
So yeah, again. And so, look, you said that it feels like Maxine kind of came out of nowhere. I do get that, but she's been training behind the scenes for a long time now, and I think that this is just the proof of her hard work. And I think that a lot of people, it was a shock win for her to get the Intercontinental Championship over Becky, even though we kind of predicted it here on the show a few months back. But I think that she's kind of showing she does belong. And I think this Intercontinental title reign is probably going to go for like another month or two before I wouldn't be shocked if she does drop it to Ivy Nile. I don't think that her and Ivy are done. And I think that this title is probably going to play what we call hot potato over the next few months. And I think it's probably going to jump around a little bit. I wouldn't be shocked if out of the Asuka and Kairi Sane, divorce, if you want to call it that, Kairi is maybe going for this title at some point. Kairi Sane and Ivy Nile, or Kairi Sane and Maxine, would be really fun. And then we talk about another tag team that could probably be broken up soon. Lyra and Bailey. Where do they go whenever
Right,
they
right.
inevitably dissipate? So, look, I thought this match was really fun. I thought this made Maxine look really strong. I know what you're saying about Ivy gets beat by everyone.
Dude, I
but
mean,
I
like,
think this is.
when's the last time Ivy won a match that was televised? Like, she might have won a house
I
show
don't know, man.
or
I
something,
don't know.
but it feels
Also,
like
I didn't know she was a Tennessee girl. I didn't know she was. I think she's from Knoxville. I didn't know that. So I heard that in her ring announcements, and I was like, oh, well, that's why Matt likes her. There you go. She's a Knoxville girl, but it may be somewhere else in Tennessee, but she's from Tennessee. But yeah,
right.
I thought the match was fine. Really surprised to see Ivy Nile tap, but again, I don't think they're done, and I think that Ivy Nile is still destined to hold that title pretty soon. So don't give up hope, Matt. I think that she's going to be IC champion.
Like I said, I mean, she's just takes beating after beating. Poor girl never wins.
And I think it's more of I think it was more of the storytelling aspect of Maxine. It's not just what we saw in the vignette. They had to show that she is legit and she could catch somebody like Ivy Nile, who you could argue is a submission specialist, off guard. And you could even see in Ivy's face, she held on for a second and then she was like, oh my God. And then she started tapping. It wasn't like she fought for it for a long time. She was kind of caught off guard at the strength of Maxine and the torque that she had on that ankle lock. She was like, oh, this is not the same Maxine Dupree that I've been picking on for a year and a half. She is kind of hit a new level. And you even heard Joe Tessitore talk about that on commentary, about how Maxine has hit her next level and has hit her stride. And I really think that look, don't be shocked if Maxine's world champion sometime in the next year and a half.
All right.
If this is, I'm not saying that she's quite there, or that they should just catapult her into the main event scene. But if she can shockingly win that Intercontinental Championship after somebody like Becky Lynch held it, then she can shockingly win a world title and catch us all off guard. Maybe she wins Money in the Bank one year, and then all of a sudden we're talking about Maxine winning the title with that briefcase. But yeah, don't fret. I think Ivy Nile is destined for that IC Championship pretty soon. All right, backstage we get Rhea. She wants a match with Asuka. Pierce makes it official. Nothing really to say, but let's jump into the CM Punk promo that we talked about earlier.
Dude.
Look, Braun Breaker, I thought a few weeks ago had the best promo of his career, and then I thought last week was kind of lame. I thought it was kind of a step back. I'm going to Braun break you, and then he made the comment about his wife. And, I think that CM Punk, this is what we call a pipe bomb from Punk, and this is what he does, and this is what you have to be prepared for when you're in a program with CM Punk.
This was such a great and intense promo too. Like, this was Punk, like, this is the most intense I've seen Punk in a while. Like, like, especially for somebody that I don't feel like deserves his time. Like, I know Braun made the comment about his wife, but man, he came at Braun from 17 different directions. It was fantastic.
There's like a little throwback that CM Punk did that Joe or Wade, I can't remember, kind of mentioned, where, the mics all have the WWE sleeves on them. Well, sometimes when Punk is about to cut a crazy promo, he takes that sleeve off, and that's what he did. And it's a throwback to back in the day when Punk was in WWE before he left. He always said, if I take that sleeve off, I'm talking as CM Punk and I don't represent the WWE in that moment. And so that was a nice little throwback to him, like taking that sleeve off and being like, all right, I'm about to spit. And dude, when he said like something about taking his eyes out and pissing on a single IQ brain, I was like, "Oh my god, dude, we're talking about pissing on somebody's skull, like, in PG-TV." And I get it's Netflix or whatever, but, and then, Adam Pearce dropping the asshole earlier in the show to
Right.
Gunther. There was just a lot of moments that kinda caught me off guard on Monday Night Raw, and look, this CM Punk promo, it was vintage Punk, and I loved it, and I'm right there with you.
No, it was great. All the Steiner math, all the just ripping, and it comes back to haunt him at the end of the show a little bit. But man, like just throwing barbs,
Haymaker
dude.
after
Yeah,
haymaker, and
just throwing them.
I love the, even with your Steiner math, you know that GTS equals 1, 2, 3. I was like, "Oh my god, dude!" Like this, he just when he made this, your dumb dad and your stupider uncle or something like that. Dude, it was just, yeah, vintage CM Punk. I loved it, and it felt like it's what the rivalry needed.
And
two
and I
two weeks
kept
in a
waiting for
row.
Braun to come out. I kept waiting. I kept waiting for Braun to not listen to Paul and
Yeah,
come out. And he listened to Paul, which makes me, like I said, it makes it even better. It makes it better because
yeah,
this
yeah.
is teeing up for something good. This is teeing up for something good come Raw first of the year or whatever, the
Hmm.
anniversary show.
Yep. All right. Well, let's jump into the next match we had for the Women's World Championship. We had Stephanie Vaquer defending against Raquel Rodriguez, and it was, of course, interrupted by Nikki Bella. And look, I know in your outline you're like Nikki Bella, but I think this may be leading to a triple threat match on the first Raw of the year. I think,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I don't think that Raquel's done, and I think that they're really going to keep Liv and Roxanne. I think that Liv is really going to keep pushing for like that tag team with Roxanne, and maybe it's going to result in them taking a few losses and really having some heat between them. And you even saw when Raquel was going after the whenever she was like, "Oh, I went and got my match," and Liv was a little like, okay. And then when Raquel turned around, she's like all smiles again. So I kind of noticed that little behind the scenes too. But yeah, I think this is headed towards a triple threat match between the three, probably on the first Raw of Netflix. And I think because that would be a triple threat match, there's no disqualifications, no countouts. Maybe Liv gets involved whenever Raquel says she doesn't want it, and maybe even cost Raquel that match. And Stephanie can retain with a pin over Raquel. So then you keep Nikki Bella clean, and she doesn't take the loss. And then probably at Royal Rumble we get Nikki Bella and Stephanie one more time. I think that's probably what we're heading towards. And then you can start all the heat between the Judgment Day, because I think at the Royal Rumble, Liv is probably going to eliminate both Raquel and Roxanne. And it might be something where Roxanne is out on the outside fighting with somebody after they both got thrown over, and Raquel is trying to save Roxanne, and then Liv just dumps them all out and gets like the multi elimination. And she's like, "Oh, it's the Royal Rumble.
It's
What do
the
you want me to
Rumble.
do?"
Yep, 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 yep.
Yeah, so I think we're headed towards a triple threat. I think this sets that up. I think maybe next week Raquel is probably going to attack Nikki Bella. Maybe when Nikki Bella is like confronting Stephanie or something, Raquel runs in and maybe just beats them both down. And then Pierce makes the triple threat match official for the first Raw. And yeah, I think that's probably where I would have it going. But yeah, I actually am pretty excited for this. It's something new and something different. I don't hate it.
All right. I mean, look, I like Raquel and Stephanie going. I wanted that match to end. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with Raquel and Stephanie starting something. I'm fine with her staying in that title scene, but I just, God, dude, Nikki, like at least Maxine Dupree has had promos where she's training and she's getting better. Nikki, I feel like hasn't shown anything really since she's come back, and
Yeah, well, she did
so
have that nice promo after the fact where she was backstage and she interrupted. She came up to Jackie and she's like, "I have something to say." And she went on like a whole rant about how she's a legend and people don't respect her.
right, right, no,
And
no, she's had a
so,
decent promo. I'm just saying, like I haven't seen
yeah.
her have a decent match, you know?
Yeah, she hasn't really backed up what she said in the ring, and I think that is a
Right.
big problem. But I'm I think that she needs to be in the IC title picture after this, and I think that's probably where she's headed. I think that she is just, I don't want to say cannon fodder, but I think this is really good for Stephanie to get the solidification, I guess if you want to use that word, of beating a Hall of Famer in her first title run before she probably loses it at WrestleMania to somebody. I don't really know who Stephanie loses that title to. I couldn't tell you yet.
I can see it being Raquel. I mean, I'm fine with it being Raquel, you know?
It's
So,
probably gonna be Becky Lynch, dude.
you think Becky goes
Probably.
up? All right.
Yeah, I think that that was just to solidify that IC title to be like, now anybody who holds it after me has held the same title that I've held,
Right.
that kind of situation. But yeah, let's stay in the women's division and let's talk about the backstage of Lyra and Bailey. Bailey is, of course, feeling down about losing to Sol Ruka a little bit. And I say, you said manipulating Bailey, but I think she's really just, again, I told you that I feel like Lyra was going to kind of start to absorb some of that Bailey-ness, Bailey-ish stuff and kind of start to act like Bailey a little bit. And I think now she's kind of just having fun playing with the back and forth of Bailey. And it's like, hey, look, if I've got to convince Bailey that she is the old Bailey in order for us to get some wins, then fine, I'll hype her up. I feel like it was more of like she knows. So I guess manipulating in a way is the right way
I
to
mean,
say
like
it.
she's
Yeah.
like, aren't you pissed you lost? She's like, no, you should be pissed you lost. Ah!
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so I mean,
No,
look,
I love it. I think
look,
it's fun.
I'm enjoying it. I'm not knocking it by any means. Like you said, Lyra's one of my favorites. The whole Bailey angle's been a lot of fun. I missed the Becky angle with the Lyra and the Bailey. Like, you know, I like when Becky's like a third or whatever, a third wheel, you know, screwing it up. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, yeah, I thought it was fun, and then I was shocked because I was kind of watching Raw. I don't want to say passively, but like while I was doing bedtime with my son and so on and so forth, and I didn't really realize that Ray versus Logan Paul was the main event until it was on, and I was like,
right.
oh, this is the main event, okay,
Well, it
and
doesn't feel very main eventy, you know? I mean,
no, it caught me off guard.
it feels very, you know, not that either of these guys are main event guys, but there just hasn't been a lot of build, you
Yeah,
know?
no, it just felt like, well, and we know that we eventually got the reveal of the Masked Man, and you can argue that's the
Right,
main
right.
event. That's what they were really pushing towards. But I mean, look, the Ray and Logan Paul match I thought was fun. I thought it was pretty good. It was a nice fun back and forth. I liked the spot with the brass knuckles and all that stuff. I thought that was pretty good. I do like that Logan Paul has maintained as a member of the Vision, and it wasn't like a one-off thing where they just
Right.
kicked him
No, I
out.
feel like he's a perfect member. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it's really good, and I actually think it's going to be good for him whenever the Vision turns on him and kicks him out because I think it's going to get him some sympathy, and I think Logan might be a little more of a babyface come later this year. I don't think he's going to be loved by everybody, but you can see he's been getting more respect from people, and people are starting to respect his abilities, and I think that more people are starting to like Logan Paul, and as weird as that is to say, whenever he gets beat down by Braun and Bronson and maybe who the masked man ended up being. We don't know what's happening with him. I think some people might have more sympathy for Logan Paul come the next few months, and maybe they pair him up with a baby face, or maybe they pair him up with Dominic Mysterio. Finally, I don't really know what you do, but I feel like Logan Paul is on a weird trajectory that a year ago nobody would have called, and I think that more people are becoming fans of Logan Paul. Strange enough,
Like, look,
but
I feel like Logan Paul is my favorite heel, maybe. Like him and Gunther, you know, fighting for who's the best heel, you know? And so
I
I don't
just
know.
think he does such a good job at it. Yeah, he's
Oh
just
God,
such a
he's
good
so
heel.
great. He's like I don't know, it was like a month ago when he turned and you thought for a second maybe him and Punk are gonna have like some kumbaya, and then he turns and knuckles Punk right, you know, like
But you know what's
that's
so funny? You bring that up. So I saw so many reactors to that moment. Whenever for a split second we thought that Logan had turned babyface, where a lot of them were like, "Okay, I could get
no,
with
that's what I'm
this."
saying, which is why it was even
Yeah.
greater when he didn't.
Yes, and
Because a lot of people
that's
were on board
exactly.
with this, like, okay, if you come under Punk's tutelage, we can see that working. We can see you maybe becoming a good guy. But it's like, nope, just kidding. I am still an evil person. So good, so good. All right, masked man reveal, dude. All right, look, what do you think?
Look, it ended up being Austin Theory, and a lot of people aren't shocked. It's the name that a lot of people called. Feels too late in some ways. Like it feels like Austin Theory should have been a guy. Remember, we were calling him at the beginning of the year for the Vision,
Look, I mean,
and
I
now
was
we don't even
stunned.
know.
I was stunned how much Grayson Waller we've gotten since Austin Theory and
Yeah.
Grayson Waller broke up. We've gotten more. I mean, I'll admit it was with the New Day, but like, you know, Austin Theory's disappeared for like what, 2
Well,
months?
yeah, well, I think Austin Theory got a lot of backlash online for some things that he believes, politically and all that stuff. So a lot of people were pissed at him. So I think maybe they were keeping him off TV so they could like make us forget about a lot of that. I won't dive into all that stuff. It's just rhetoric I've seen online. But I think that a lot of people are like, "Oh, okay, it is Austin Theory." And I don't think that's necessarily fair. Like, I feel like there was always going to be a lot of people, or there were always going to be a lot of people disappointed with who it ended up being. I personally saw a lot of Montez Ford rumors, and I would have liked that as well. I saw a lot of Chris Jericho rumors. It was never
I
going to
saw
be
the
Chris
Jericho
Jericho, guys.
rumors. Yeah.
It was never going to be Chris Jericho with how fast that guy that was at War Games climbed the cage. Come on, guys. Chris Jericho's 50 plus. It was never going to be Chris Jericho. They don't expect us to believe that. And so, look, Austin Theory makes sense. The thing that we don't know is where his allegiances lie. Is
Well,
he a
here's
part
the
of the vision? Is he working for Seth behind the scenes?
right,
Because remember, during the pandemic, well, you don't know, but Seth had his own faction before the vision, and Austin Theory was part of it.
right. No,
And so,
and he's doing the stomp, which is
exactly,
the Seth
exactly.
move.
And
Now,
so
here's the
I
other
don't think we're going to
question.
get any answers. I don't think we're going to get a lot of answers until the first Raw of January. But I think that, look, Austin Theory was a name that we thought it was going to be, and it ended up being him. So now we should just wait and see where it goes.
But
But
here's
go
the other
ahead.
question: is he the only masked man? Like, what if next week?
Yeah, that's the
What if
question.
what if next Raw another masked man comes out, does a stomp, takes it off, and it is Montez Ford or something?
Right.
Like what if
Because that
we're
has been the big rumor, is that every time it's been a different guy,
right, right, right?
and some people think that it was just to throw us off. But what if it is multiple people?
What if
And
this
this
is the Church of Seth or something?
Yeah, and and every time that the mask guy has come out and attacked, you could always see his eyes. And never until this week, whenever they revealed him, have I looked at the eyes and been like, "That's Austin Theory." And I saw his eyes this time, and I was like, "That's Austin Theory under the mask." That time, I knew it just from his eyes. I could tell. And then he removed the mask, and it was him. And it's interesting having his head shaved. That feels kind of different, with the
Mhm.
beard kind of being a little scraggly. Maybe it is some sort of like, I shaved my head in allegiance to Seth or something
Right,
like
that's what I'm
that.
saying.
Yeah, and so it a lot of unanswered questions, and I think that a lot of people are kind of bummed out that it's Austin Theory, even though you could argue that he's been the favorite to be the masked man this whole time. But that kind of is what happens, when it ends up being the odds-on favorite. A lot of people get pissed about it, and they wanted something different. But I think that people have been clamoring for Austin Theory and something to happen with him, and this is the opportunity, and let's see where it goes.
I really hope it's the opening of the Church of Seth or something like that. Like I said, I hope
Right.
it's somebody else comes out in it, somebody else comes out in, then we have four guys, and then the fifth guy is finally revealed, and it's Seth, and he's healed, and it's like, here's my new faction.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Like, I could see Montez Ford, and then he had Buddy Murphy, who has gone to AEW, Rhea Ripley's husband. He used to be in WWE, and he was a part of the old faction for Seth. That was kind of like, it was kind of like a Church of Seth faction. Seth's, the chanting that's in his theme song now, that's where that originated. And the intro, his video package was like a stained glass, picture of Seth with his arms up and stuff. And so it kind of gives off that cult leader Church of Seth vibe. And it could be Buddy Matthews coming back. It could be Austin Theory, repledging his allegiance to Seth. And then finally, we could see the dissolution of the Street Profits, which a lot of people have wanted to see for a long time. And I think Montez Ford, I think both of them are great, but I think Montez Ford is the big money out of that group. And pairing him with Seth would be nothing but good for him. And then you have your new dark faction on Monday Night Raw,
Because
to
it just
combat the
doesn't
Judgment
make
Day
it
and the
doesn't make
Vision.
enough sense that it's just Austin Theory and he can't be acting on his own. So
Right.
what is it? What's
Right.
coming of this? Where
I
are we
just
going?
hope that it's not a Paul Heyman like, "Oh, it was me the whole time." And I
Right.
feel like that'd be
Yeah, no, I'm with
the
you
most
too.
boring
I
result.
like I
Yeah.
like the idea that it might be Logan Paul the whole time. Like, what if Logan Paul's got his own little faction within a faction? I like that
Okay.
idea. But yeah, no, if
Interesting.
it's Paul,
Interesting.
I'm checking out or whatever. So
Yeah, if it's Paul just the puppeteer pulling the strings, it's like that's so easy, to write. But like Seth also said, it's like a 6-month recovery time, and he's only a few weeks post surgery.
mhm.
So it's like we don't really know what's going on with Seth yet and how long he's going to be out. Because if it is Seth working behind the shadows, Can you milk that for 6 months before he's back? Do you bring him back
You bring him back a
pre-return and
little
just have
early,
him
yeah, because
work?
I mean, because right, I mean, it's shoulder, right? It's his shoulder, right?
Yeah, he dislocated his shoulder and he had
So
to
I
have
mean, like you
surgery.
you could bring him back probably and have him stomp some dudes out for a couple weeks because that doesn't take any
Right.
shoulder,
Or even
you
if he
know?
doesn't get physically active, I mean, that's why he's got his guys. They
Right,
can be
right.
physically active for him and he can just, oh, I'm not medically cleared. You can't touch me. You can't touch me.
Mhm,
And, so now he has his guys doing and he doesn't even have to make his guys do it. They step up for him,
mhm.
because that's what we do. We pledge for Seth. We fight for Seth. We die for Seth if we need to, and so I hope it is Seth working from the shadows, but there is a good chance that WWE is not being that creative. So maybe we should tamper our expectations just a little bit, but I'm going to be optimistic.
But I'm hoping if we wrote
All
it,
right, well, look, we talked about a lot. We had a lot to talk about,
a
but
lot to catch up. Like I said, we have that month. Like I said, yet again, make sure you like, comment. Like I said, there's a bunch of things to comment on in this one.
yeah.
We won't have a month hiatus again. Like I said, unfortunately, as we said, Casey lost his grandfather, took some time. So like I said,
Yeah,
but
man, it was I mean, look, if I'm just being transparent with everybody, it was the biggest loss I've experienced in my life. And it was like I said, it was very unexpected. It happened out of nowhere and it just kind of rattled our whole foundation of our family. But on the other side of all that darkness, it brought us all closer. And we've all been there for my grandma big time. She has not been alone, since it all happened. She's actually, we're taking our son to Galveston this weekend. For those of you that know about Moody Gardens, and she decided to tag along with us. So we're all gonna get to go on a little trip. And like I said, through all the bad shit, it's brought us all together and it brought us all a lot closer. And yeah, so it was foundation rocking, but it also set us straight and kind of made the priorities a lot clearer. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming. Like I said, some big news that I wish we could share with you guys, but we
I don't
just
really know if we
can't
can
yet.
share it or not. I mean, like they never got back to us.
No,
But
they told us not to. They told
did
us
they
not
say?
to.
Okay, I missed
Yeah,
that
they
one.
said to keep it a secret.
All
So
right,
we
all
can't
right.
we can't share anything yet. But I look, guys, in a few weeks to a few months time, it's gonna be pretty cool. So I can't wait to share it with you guys. And yeah, like Matt said, drop a like, drop a comments. Tell me about your top 5 CENA matches. Tell me about matches that I forgot. What did you think about Monday Night Raw? And then going into the first Raw on Netflix in January, the 1 year anniversary, and then going into the Royal Rumble. We're almost in WrestleMania season. The road to WrestleMania is almost here. We're really close. But yeah, dude, we talked about a lot. We got a lot knocked out, and
And then, like I
we
said,
need
be
you
ready,
guys to
dude.
talk a lot in the comments.
K Wrestling 2026 is going to be a big year.
Yes,
Big
it is.
year.
Yes, it is. All right. Well, hey, drop your likes, drop your comments. Make sure you share. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done it already. Go check us out on TikTok,
Oh, oh,
Instagram.
oh,
Check out
oh,
our
oh.
YouTube shorts. Oh, yeah.
Final,
We got to open your comics. Open your
final.
comics.
Like I said, as you know, this how low. Uh,
I have the dogs watching too.
First off, this is 97 of 180. Only 180 of these covers
Ooh.
were made, and then not all of them were signed. So, like I said, here we are. You can see the
Yours is
turtles,
signed?
and then, like I said, you see the signature here on the bottom.
Ooh.
9.8 signature series.
I
So
love the green signature. The green marker
yeah,
is
yeah, no,
nice.
it's so nice. It fits so perfectly, dude. So very happy to have gotten this. If you're a Turtles fan, you know my love. Like I said, there it
Look,
is.
there's me right there.
Yep,
Look, speaking of turtles,
yep.
that's my Casey Jones.
There we go. So yeah, just want to show that off because I knew it came in. I was very excited. So all right, y'all.
Yeah, dude, very clean. That is, even I'm not I'm not a comics guy, but I do love a good art. And like I said, that green signature on there just pops
I mean,
so
the
perfectly.
fact that it's limited to 180. Only 180 of these,
Yeah.
dude,
Yep.
and not all of them are signed.
I was about to say, how many do you know how many were signed?
I
Is
mean,
it?
technically, if you bought one, you could get it signed. I've only seen like 6
Mm,
of them signed though.
ooh.
So
So I would venture to guess probably less than 50 are signed.
yeah, oh for sure. So and it's
Man,
Clayton
that's
Crane. If you don't know who
crazy.
Clayton Crane is, Clayton Crane is a fantastic comic book artist. So it's not some no name dude. So just a bunch of awesomeness. Just want to share it. All right.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, hey, we love the comics. We love the cards, all that stuff. Um, yeah. So make sure you follow us on all socials and look for all the shorts and reels. You guys already do a great job. That they typically do pretty well. Yeah, until next time, make sure you guys do all the liking, subscribing, and commenting. And until next time, TK Wrestling is out of here.